Hey Ren, hello, hello, hello. Sorry, I'm still getting stuff set up. I did want to quickly look at something real quick. How are you doing? Oh shit. Hope you're doing amazing. Thank you so much. Likewise. It's been a busy time, but there's enough good to be able to enjoy myself and find the good in the day. I don't know if you ended up getting the new Zelda game, but if so, hopefully you're enjoying yourself. Oh, you did? Nice, nice. How do you normally play those like open world games? Do you kind of just like go off on your own and just find things to do, or do you try to progress through the story? I feel like everyone has like their own unique way of tackling something that is that expansive. Usually with those games I just rush through the main story, and then like right when I'm about to beat it I do like all the side stuff. But for whatever reason with Breath of the Wild, I don't know, they did such a good job of like wanting you to explore. So I definitely did a lot more just moving around and exploring, which was really fun. I'm so lost in the first area. Oh no. Admittedly, I'm intoxicated. I didn't hear that. Been lost for days. Can't figure out how to get out. I think I heard someone else say something similar. Or like they were struggling finding stuff and just struggling how to get out of the main area. Although that happened with some people in the first game. So surprised they didn't actually like make that simpler, but maybe they want people to like take their time. That's the one thing that because like Breath of the Wild, I've never been super into like open world games, and I've never really been into Zelda games, but that game really resonated with me because I felt happy like getting lost and just like, oh, there's a mountain, I wonder if there's something on top, and then just like climbing stuff. Such a silly game, so much fun. Suck at exploration, that's fair. I'm the same way, but I think Zelda usually does a pretty good game of like rewarding you just finding your way around. The only thing, like, eventually I'll get the game, but I'm like a little bit intimidated potentially of like everything I see on TikTok are these people making like giant mechs and like trucks or like salmon run characters or salmon run bosses, and I'm just like, I'd probably be very simple and efficient with the way that I build stuff, but I doubt that it gets like, I doubt it dampers the experience. Because you can still do a lot of silly stuff in Breath of the Wild, and I never really bothered. And I still had a fun time exploring. Anyways, there's nothing really specific I wanted to look for. But I need to like waste a little bit of time into the stream. I do appreciate that my teammates actually watch stuff for me. There was one spot that I felt a little bit weird. Surprised the inkjet didn't go for me. I don't know what they were fighting our ball point. Oopsie. My bad. I love having teammates that like, I don't know, they're like actively looking to like work with you in solo queue. It's such a rarity, but it makes the game so much fun. It's like if I stall long enough, I know someone's got my back. There's one spot on left side. I don't know. There's nothing interesting about this game other than it was a 2-2 series and I managed to stay alive. Also, I rolled this person over. So, I think this is kind of one of those spots. Yeah, like I shouldn't be painting. Painting now is fine, but I probably shouldn't have been painting before. Yeah, like these spots I shouldn't be. But that, I think my teammates end up going down. It gets to be a weird scramble. Yeah. I don't know if I'm supposed to be on right block here. Yo, what's up, Zach? Welcome, welcome. What's up, Bab? This way. That's so real. I keep trying to figure out how stuff works. Can't get it to work at all. Yeah. That's like the one nice thing, like when you watch streamers play the game, because I'll just like cycle through random streamers just playing at different points. And they'll like go for those random puzzles. And it's a lot more relatable in the way that they solve them. Because you'll go online and people have like these very elaborate things that like work well. What are those machines? There's a is it Rube Goldberg machines or something? Rube Goldberg machine? Where it's just like a contraption where like a million things are just falling into place. That's how I feel watching people post stuff. But then when you watch everything else, you watch like a normal person play, I'm like, okay, this is fine. I blink and you have another crab. We paint. Be on a spot like this, I should not be going top mid, especially when they just rained. Question is, where should I be going? I think I'd just go right block. Because we initially, oh yeah, let me set up my webby cam. Again, this game isn't interesting. I'm just looking at it because I just played it and it's top of the brain. But yeah, I know how you feel about the solo queue grind. That's what I'm gonna do tonight. I just play a lot of solo queue. I haven't had like a large grinding sessions in a while, but I played like a little bit. I've played during like the most egregious like rotations. I played like sturgeon clams earlier. I kept getting sturgeon clams. And I played like Rainmaker on like some really weird maps, but even throughout all of that, like I still had a really fun time, like just with solo queue. So I think I'm in a mentality where I can probably hopefully grind it for quite a while. But sometimes it can be a little bit different in what's it called? Doing it on stream versus doing it otherwise. Yo, what's up, Soda? We're gonna, if you're gonna be here for a little bit, we're gonna review your game next. I apologize, I've been really late on it. I should have got to it like 3 days ago. But I've just had short streams and stuff. How did your Squid Junction stuff go? Or not Squid Junction, Proving Grounds. We got clapped round 1. I didn't have my best performance, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, if I crab over here, if I just crab on this block, I can at least deal with this person, and I can lob shots into this area. So that would have been a lot better than like forcing. I don't think when did that person get there? I don't think I saw them drop. Oh, they're just sitting on the wall. That's fair. Did I not see them? Oh, I totally should be able to see this. Yeah, I'm focusing up here or something. I don't really want to pay for an eye tracker, but it'd be so fascinating to go back and watch and see where my eyes were on this spot, because I'm totally watching up here and I'm missing this. But yeah, this is a greedy position on my part. But we do stay alive, so all is well. Oh yeah, this is the spot where I think the 52's over here. I wanted to hold zone, but I probably should have given up zone and looked for a pick. Maybe I time it when the wall goes down? Yeah. Because like I could... There's like an interesting spot that I'll find myself around where we're like both playing around this block. Like someone's on this side and someone's like on this side. And like I'm focused on keeping this our color. I could give up zone completely and probably find an opportunity to drop and get the pick. The only thing about this is that if I drop out this way and this person expects it, they can just back out this way and I lose the range battle. So I don't know. Yeah, they ended up backing down and I didn't like us clumping here. Yeah, this is another one of those spots. Yeah. I think I need to watch. It's so hard that we can't I don't know. I need to find more solo queue players. But I think in this spot, I'll say it in a second. Same. Our first opponent was a group of people that are Div 2. Kind of got bodied in our first two games. There was a lot closer. That's good. Yeah, we struggle at closing out games. We'll get a good lead and then we'll struggle at retake, which partially it's our comps to a certain degree enable the choke, but a lot of it is the way that we play and a lack of discipline. But I think in this spot is really minor, but I want to sit back here in max range, paint around this box real quick. I want to hold this space before I like sit over here. Because we played this in our, we all played it in our round of, also, what's up, Sons? Welcome, welcome, welcome. But yeah, not getting this pain is like a throw. Because they could give up worrying about the zone for a second and just like they get a free pick on me. And that's what ended up happening. That happens a lot when I play around this block. And only recently have I been thinking about areas where I need to get like a little bit of paint and stuff. Just to like give myself some time. Because like in this spot with all this paint, I have to worry about this person like swinging around this way. I have to be worried about them swinging over top. I got to worry about them swinging this way. And like if I establish this paint, yes, they can still kind of do the same thing, but A, it's a little bit awkward and slow for them. The other thing is that they're probably like, most humans are going to like paint around here before they start climbing. And I can potentially see like where they're painting, or I can hear where they're painting, and that gives me some more time to be able to react. But I don't like hugging this wall when this whole area behind the block is the enemy paint. It's something that I really mess up with, and I went for a stupid play, but fortunately my ballpoint clutched up. Teammates are real ones. All right, anyways, let's get the Soda's review. Let's get it. Also, how was your... I mean, I watched most of the low ink run, but how did it feel from your perspective? I know the grand finals was a heck of a set. I know it got dampened a little bit because of the connection stuff, which, you know, it is what it is, but oh lordy, I'm ready to be roasted. No. Also, what's your not philosophy, but like, what's your reasoning behind wanting to play T-Tech? I'm interested. I'm also trying to fill some time while I get the replay set up. I don't think T-Tech is bad, but I wonder why people favor it over something like Neo Sploosh or Neo Splash. Alright, so this is an X-Rank game. Umami Tower. I'm gonna roast you for playing Umami TC. I'm kidding. I set up pretty decent in the finale set. How do you feel during like longer tournaments? Because like low ink like takes a lot out of you the few times I played it. Are you because there's some people that can't play for too long or else they start burning out, and then there's some people that are grinders. And actually often find myself get like the longer that I play, the more confident, and I think the better that I play. At a certain point, everyone burns out, you know? But I built up the ability, with the right mentality, of course, that I can usually play like 10, 12 hours. No problem. Always been Splattershot main? I see. I kind of missed the extra range of I don't know. K-Shot was like the perfect amalgamation of main weapon, sub, and special. I do kind of miss playing K-Shot. It had everything, which Splash also has everything, but it's a little bit different. I miss the suction bomb on like non-zone stuff. Like I love playing with burst bombs, but I have to switch to like Neos. I've been messing with switching with Neo Splash in a lot of scenarios because I need like some sort of lethal bomb when I'm playing like TC and stuff. There's certain maps where it stalls like so much. Anyways. Let's look at the game. Oh. It might be nice to have the little info card. 1 second. Appreciate y'all's patience. Sorry, I can't get the funny E. I don't know, I'm trying to think of your ranks, but those are not in my brain. All right, 20. Yeah. Please roast me and all my bad habits. Oh yeah, we'll definitely go over stuff. But we're trying not to throw it in a roast, but I appreciate your enthusiasm. Shoot, how did I format this? Oh, T10. And then this is X rank. 2, 2, 4, 5-ish. Okay. 6, 6, 6. I was looking at the Neo Luna icon and thought it was a Kenza machine. I was playing BP and open with just to kind of do some mindless trolling, and I thought that intensify action was drop roller. So I kept jumping in. I'm like, pretty sure you just hold a direction for drop roller to activate. I don't know why it's not working. And it took us like by the second game, I'm like, oh, this is not the right ability. So I resonate. You're not alone. All right, and then with your build, you had comeback, special charge, and stealth jump. Yeah, it seems pretty reasonable. Do you feel like you need the special charge? I don't think it's bad, but I feel like if you're playing comeback, you probably would. I don't know. At least for me, I'd probably rather go like something a little bit more aggressive with how I'm playing. Like either more like a main of swim speed or maybe a main of like run speed's kind of quirky, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. Like special charge is totally fine, but or ninja squid is another option, but that might slow you down a little bit. But again, I'm interested in the thought process more so than like trying to say it's right or wrong, because I think it's totally reasonable. All right. Oh yeah, we didn't talk through this. Wait, which? All right, we're the blue team T-Tech. Cool. So we are blue team T-Tech. It's the most sad circle I've ever concocted. So our team has like we have a good like array of specials. We lack range a little bit, but when it comes to the overall like comparison of the whole match, like we outrange them with Bloogies. And for us specifically as the T-Tech, we just have to be careful about taking fights with Tetras. Otherwise, we can feel confident or even with the other three. So I don't want us to get caught in fights with Tetra when we don't need to. But yeah, we also have like a lot of chip. Both teams have the ability to paint pretty decently. I think they probably outpaint you slightly, but I think it's okay either way. But yeah, on this map, I'm still not fully comfortable with a lot of like rollouts and stuff, but obviously getting people around this middle pillar is pretty good. And just there's a lot of area for us to paint, so I'd probably be okay taking it a little bit slower. We don't want to give up too much space, but we don't have to like push forward and fight necessarily. You can probably play for special. because like we have good specials, and especially with like a crab, we can use that to push. Overall, I like our ability to chip at them, and then our ability to like push them just like a little bit better. So I think we can play like a little bit more patient and composed in a lot of spots, and make sure that we don't put ourselves in bad spots or get surprised by this Tetra is the biggest thing. And like that's why I said like holding this toward the beginning and making sure we get paint around and stuff, we can get an idea of, you know, if Tetra's trying to push through and roll through mid, we don't want to get caught off guard. Outside of that, like early on, like we want to take mid first, and then we'll probably like, we want to clear this area. We definitely want to clear this area. It's not as bad in TC because there's just a pillow instead of the block, but there'll be a lot of action in this area, and it also extends into this choke over here. So this is kind of the main general areas that we want to cover, and I think we have good specials to be able to deal with it, whether it be Tri-Strike. This has rain, right? No, it has a hammer. I'm an idiot. Okay. And has a why did I think it had rain? Yeah, it has a hammer, which is still okay. But like Booyah and Crab especially, we can do those from like top mid. So I don't know. I think our game plan here is just to play it kind of slow, find the picks, build specials, and like we're chilling. We don't have to look to be like the superhero fighting weapon as T-Tech. We have the ability to, and it plays a little bit into our comeback build, but you know, I think we can play around our specials and play around the Glooga range and the wall setups. So if I'm the T-Tech, if I have positions to push forward, maybe I go for it, but it's okay to like play around your teammates and be a little bit more supportive until there's opportunities for you to go in. I don't think you have to go in and feed like you may traditionally do with a comeback build. So that's what I'm seeing right now. We'll get into it, but just make sure I have everything up. Been testing a few things, Rain Ninja's good for a while, but I think it just wasn't for me. That's fair. I think I'd probably, if I was in your spot, I'd probably run swim speed, but again, whatever you're most comfortable with is totally fine. The other thing with TC, especially on a map like this, like we don't have, especially with our comp, but usually in TC in general, like it's okay to chill a little bit toward the beginning. We don't want to give up mid completely. We do want to have a presence around mid, but we can also slow down and like paint for specials. So, you know, just establish a good paint presence and have our specials ready, because Tri-Strike can help us with our pushing and stuff. So the first thing I'm seeing with this play, I think you're a really solid player, so I'm gonna be like, there's a little bit of a balance between like larger concepts and also being a little bit nitpicky in certain spots. So like I'm not gonna overly analyze it, but there's potential like little bits of mechanical things that I want to mention, but also just, you know, general decision making and stuff. But yeah, I do think in this spot, like I want us to go for paint and stay low to the ground. There's a couple things about this. The first thing, we're jumping like max height, and we don't want to do that. If we have no need to like get the extra range, which there could be an argument made potentially before they roll that you need the extra range to be able to shoot at them. But we don't want to take a 1v1 with the Tetra. We want our teammates to be able to support. And if this person overcommits this way, like we have two people in mid that can like drop an assist. So I want us to play a little bit more solid. We don't want to just like take fights. I know that comeback gives us some leeway of like, you know, let's do a little bit of feeding. Let's do a little bit of a light trolling. But we don't want to take these fights because Tetra, I think, slightly outranges T-Tech, if I'm not wrong. If I'm wrong, then that changes the dynamic of the fight, but I think Tetra outranges it, at least when it's in like roll form and stuff. So yeah, So like in general, I'd rather you just sit here and just like get all of this paint. Because the other thing about you being a painter and why you probably want to play a little bit more on the supporting role, you can totally be aggressive when you have opportunities to move forward, but you really only have 2 painters. And especially when you have something like a blaster, but Gloogas it would definitely appreciate the paint as well. But the blaster needs someone to like help them get space to move forward. So we can enable our teammates just through our paint alone and just hold that. So before we fully engage on something like this, I'd rather us get our special. But I like us slowing it down a little bit here. The other thing in this spot is that, again, we're like jumping max height, which we don't need to do because we're just like an open target and we lack mobility. So if we wanted to get a better angle on this person, we can like move forward a little bit so that we have a better range if we're more comfortable with that, and move closer to this little block thing here. But again, like we don't know what's going on. Like we can make a bit of a gamble that right side pseudo cleared because our blaster just got a pick, but you know, they end up going down after. So now the tide turns and there's probably a good chance that someone's going to be pushing that right side if the blaster immediately goes down. So like we're spending way too much time here. I'm okay with a very initial, like, you know, get a couple of shots if you can like 3-shot them and just get a free pick. But I don't want us to be super focused on this because like who cares, you know? Especially on this map, like this first checkpoint is like it's just gonna go down. Which I don't think that they're going to get it for free, but even if they do, it's like, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. Some maps, the first checkpoint can be a little bit harder to take. And there's advantages to fighting for it, but I haven't played TC on this map all that much, but I just don't value it that highly. So I'm okay with like literally 3, maybe 4 shots, and then that's it. And I never want to leave the ground here because we just don't need to. Because it gives the person here an opportunity to like drop or like reposition from where we're shooting, and then we're now in trouble. And it also allows what ends up happening of, you know, someone else coming through and like cleaning us out. So, and yeah, you just have teammates there. There's a lot of redundancy in the decision making, and we almost get the pig here. It's unfortunate. Like you're not supposed to win that. Our mistake was focusing on tower there. So hopefully yeah. So our splash is able to survive. Again, we give up first checkpoint, but we can stop them pretty quickly after with our crab. So, you know, in a 2v3 in this spot, it's not too bad, but I want to make sure that we're taking it a little bit slow, making sure that we're establishing paint, getting bombs over on this pillar and like common areas that they might be sitting and sharking, and use the crab to stall, basically. Because they don't really have a lot of direct specials that we have to be fearful of. Like if this person uses their Zipcaster, it's almost like a benefit for us. In a lot of cases, like if they use Zipcaster to like go into the crab, for example, like we could just like take the space for free and look to move forward. But yeah, I like the measured approach, but again, we're putting ourselves into scenarios where we just don't have a lot of paint. Before we start moving forward, I want to make sure that we're establishing the paint, because we don't want to get caught against like, honestly, just any short range weapon. Like we don't want to get caught into a fight where we just don't have a lot of paint to maneuver. So again, this is a little bit nitpicky, but it is important. As we're moving this way, like, you know, get paint here, probably paint this, you know, I prioritize painting this area to make sure I'm not going to get pushed on. And then I'm just getting like just a little bit of paint in this type of area, just so I have some room to maneuver if I need to drop back into the pit. If they push you into the pit, then your teammates should be able to help you. But we need to make sure that we put ourselves into situations where we can help ourselves. Yeah. And again, we're not respecting the Tetra outranging us, which they were down before, but they are going to like spawn in and jump and feed. They do a better job at feeding than you will be able to do. So I do want us to take space, but like we just need specials. We're not the faster team in this comp. We need to slow it down a little bit, and Tri-Strike is a great way for us to be able to do that. I think this is pretty reasonable, but it's unfortunate our teammates go down. It's So yeah, we're kind of just poking with bombs and then we need to paint. That's a decent trade. It probably goes in their favor, but... Oh, Tetra has a half line range over shot. Gotcha. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I was pretty sure that they had a slight range advantage, but... One thing I did want to mention in this kind of scenario is like... One bomb around the tower can make some sense, but... We're like looking to... We're still... Our mentality in this spot is that we're still trying to have a play on tower. It's like right here, you're marked, you're down team, like teammates, and the enemy team is going to be flooding through here like immediately. And that's something that we should know ahead of time. And like we still have this plan that like we're going to do something with the tower. If you do want to go for tower, then you have to move forward now and just take a fight, but we're marked, so I wouldn't advise it. But I don't like us positioning over here. And if we are going to position over here, then we're positioning here so that we can pre-fire on this ledge to try to get a free pick on the people that are going to be pushing past tower to take space so that they can score some points and get this next checkpoint. So like we're too focused on like, oh man, an opportunity is going to open up for us to be able to go in or go in this way and like get to tower. Instead, like just play more discipline. There's a better term that I'm trying to look for right now, but just more responsible overall. Like going for a play on tower is kind of it's kind of like cheap in a weird way. It's like if someone's jumping in and you just like sit there laser focused on it for like 5 seconds and then you shoot at it. And it's like as you get better at the game, it's like, you know, instead of just sitting there and doing it, it's like, okay, maybe I can sit in ink. Maybe I can get some paint down. Maybe I can throw a bomb at it and not have to worry about it altogether. And, you know, there's more refined ways of approaching different scenarios. And this feels like a very amateurish approach at, you know, oh, I'm going to stop the tower directly versus, you know, pre-firing these areas. Because if you pre-fire here, there's a good chance that you get a free pick. You know, not that you get this pick for free, but like they're low enough to where the battle's potentially in your favor. But we're not set up for this. We don't have the paint established. We're trying to take a fight that they know where we're at and we don't know the timing on where they're at. So it's just, it's tough for us. And then, you know, little mechanical thing we can maneuver, but I'm not going to worry about that. I understand the panic of that scenario. And it's, you know, I know that you move between shots. I don't want to. Unless it's something I see common, then we can talk, you know, then I'll address it, but that's not really a concern in this spot. I think this is fine. But again, we need to establish paint. After a push like that, yeah, like this is what the map's supposed to look like after you've been stuck in your base for so long. So we're partially responsible with the splash to do this. And like our teammates can't really, like the Luna can't really paint, but it also can't move forward and like do stuff either. So when we're breaking out here, I want us to play responsibly. We'll see how we play it, but we need to like, we do need to be a little bit better about taking space. Because like if you get special back here and you like, you know, sit on this choke and just throw tri-strikes, like, I don't know. It's going to be hard to get full value out of it because it's not like missiles, you know, where you get like a bunch of information. And I'd rather us, instead of painting for special solely, I'd rather us be a little bit more forward. And like, we want to be aggressive to like paint. So instead of backing up here, because like we're backing up because we're scared, but we already got the pick on this person and we're, unless, I don't know. For me, I feel like this, it's a dangerous scenario, but I feel like we should be able to start getting paint. We probably can't push over here. But I feel like we can probably get paint in this area pretty reasonably and safely, especially with our range. Because we outrange everything else on the map. So, you know, we have to be careful that a blaster isn't potentially like sharking in spots. But I don't know if they came off spawn or if they just retreated. But either way, I think we should be building by painting like more aggressively. We don't need to like paint back here because the enemy team is going to, if we don't push them back here, then their Tetra is going to jump like over in one of these spots. And then they just roll into your team and you're going to struggle. and you're gonna get stuck in the same spot that you're at now. So we're playing it a little bit too safe here. We need to be a little bit more aggressive when it comes to painting. Any paint that you're going for here, I would much rather our splash take it anyways. We have a little bit more range over the splash, so we can be like more aggressive with the type of paint that we're looking for. And there's certain spots where we can actually bully weapons, and we have to use it. We have to take advantage of that instead of like, oh, I need to get Tri-Strike because I can throw out a special and like maybe I get a pick randomly. Nice shots. I'm not gonna nitpick it, but yeah, I would probably be a little bit more mobile in this kind of scenario. So I like the bomb here, and like I like that you painted before you start taking this fight. This is awesome. This is what you need to be doing, so you give yourself options. That person was not checking the camera properly. But in a spot like this, I don't want us to just run and like jump. I'd rather us just get paint over here, paint over top of this thing, and paint this, the one area that they could push you through. Like we're trying to take this like very honest fight when I don't think we want to be gambling like this. I think we're smart enough as players that we don't want to necessarily take these types of gambles. It's still very early in the game and I want us to get paint. Again, it goes back to like this team's going to be a lot more aggressive on average because of the Tetra. And we're going to be playing, like we can play more disciplined because we have really strong team specials and we can push together well. But we need to give our teammates opportunities to get into the game. So we want to paint as much as we can. Good bomb. Yeah, still in these types of spots, we just want to get paint. Yeah. We're expecting to get way more. Oh, I went back too far. I'll watch you mop up 2 of them real quick. 3 of them actually. I forgot about the bomb. So that's sick. So in a spot like this, like we need to be more aggressively taking space. And in this scenario, like there's a junior that's probably gonna have a Tetra like jump into it. So there's a couple of ways that we can approach it. I think taking mid is very reasonable. We can also get paint back here if we want to. It's a little bit risky and it's probably not necessary, but it is a potential option. But again, the biggest thing here is I just want us to paint. Like we're expecting Tri-Strike to get us value here when we like, sometimes it can be a tough concept, but there's a lot of scenarios where your special is actually a hindrance versus using your main weapon and getting value out of your main weapon. And it's important for us to identify when it's better for us to use our main weapon versus using the special. Because like specials allow us to do things that we can only dream of just using our main weapon. But it also depends on the type of special. And again, I mentioned K-Shot before. There's definitely good times to use missiles, but you could basically use missiles whenever and then like it helped you accomplish your goal. But this is a spot where you're like, oh man, like I can throw Tri-Strikes down, maybe we can get picks and stuff, but that doesn't need to be your role here. Like their T-Tech's still moving in or they're taking a very bad jump somewhere. And I just want us to get paint. I just want us to get like just all of this mid area. I'll go overhead. In this type of spot, I want this area to be painted our color. We can't push super fast because we still have to get past the first checkpoint. And to get past this first checkpoint, it's you know, we're gonna have to play it a little bit slower. So like this is an opportunity that, yes, we have to play slower, which is not always the funnest thing, but it does give us an opportunity to allow us to paint like behind us a little bit and just establish a very clean kind of start and just full control of mid, and then we can push together with the specials that we're building. The other thing in this spot is that you know, you're more focused on tower, which I would prioritize helping our poor little, I'm guessing that's our splash. Yeah, like our poor splash. Like if we're not sitting on tower, we just move forward and like we just paint this person out. And if they end up rolling backwards, whatever. We get our paint and we're chilling. But if they try to take a fight, like, you know, there's opportunities for us just to keep paint on this person. If we can drop to get a clean pick after they use their rolls, it's fine. But if we just slow them down enough, our teammate can push up and continue helping us. But our goal here is paint, even more so than just moving the tower. But do you really think that like with a tri-strike, like it doesn't allow you to paint, so you're wasting time, this valuable time right now when we get this first checkpoint, we're not painting. But like, are you actually more confident using tri-strike to get a pick on a Tetra, or do you feel more confident with your main weapon, you know? Because that's yeah, it's a habit that we're gonna make sure that we need to break out of. Not my case shop task, going back to haunt my bad habits. That was the biggest trick that Splatoon devs ever did to us case shop players. Is that we didn't like understand why we should special, because we could just always special and get some sort of value out of missiles. So yeah, that's just the big thing that I've seen so far, is that you're just like throwing your tri-strikes out, like just you're just like crossing your fingers that something is gonna work in your favor. And like as you get better as a player, you should have confidence in your, like, even if you're not confident in your aim, or like, you know, I'm not the best player or whatever, you should still try to play discipline. And in spots where it's better to get value out of your main weapon, you'll want to make sure you do that. Mini Reslider and Stamp, you can relate to, oh yeah, about getting value out of your specials and when it's better to use main weapon. It's a really important concept with this game. Which, like, again, like these tri-strikes aren't bad, but they're not good, you know? It's like you get some value out of them, but you leave the splash, which the splash never wins against the Tetra unless the Tetra's trolling or they're chipped. So like if you did some damage to the Tetra, then burst bombs could help clean up the Tetra. But if I'm a V splash playing against the Tetra, I'm throwing burst bombs and I'm giving them whatever space they want to take. Unless they're playing around the ledge and I can potentially get into their range, but I'm not taking those fights. Yeah. And again, we're just prioritizing like getting points on tower and getting checkpoint over our life and paint and everything. And we need to rework the priorities. Because like it's cool that you got the checkpoint, but it doesn't ultimately matter. You would have very easily gotten mid anyways by just getting paint. And because you don't get the paint initially and your teammates are losing fights, like now we're back in the same spot where we're just going to be constricted into these types of spots, and we have to do something silly in order to get back into the game. Your teammates crab maybe a little bit early, but you know, I can't blame them. You also should be able to paint a ton and get a bunch of specials, so using the early one to stall is not too bad. This is a heads up play with the pick on that. I love that. But again, in the spot, get your general paint. Win these fights by just painting. You know, when you see that the enemy's in those types of spots, and it's okay, but we want to make sure that we're getting our paint. It's like, what are we doing? Like, what are we expecting from this tri-strike? Like, are we expecting this Luna Blaster to like not retreat or something, you know? It's like we're wasting a potential pushing tool. It's like tri-strike doesn't work like that. But I like that you're getting some paint down, but I just rather us get this paint down a little bit easier. The other thing that I realized, and we'll go into recon mode after this, but it's something that I've been like super like hyper fixated on, like painting as a short range shooter recently. And like I've started doing this because I'm like, I sit in like recon mode for way too long. Like I probably have like actual time that I'm doing stuff in recon mode. I probably spent like 200 or 300 hours at least, which honestly I probably spent over like 100 hours just on clam throws. So like I probably spent like 300 plus hours at least just in recon mode, and just getting a comfortable feel for the different maps and stuff. But anyways, as a short range shooter, one thing I noticed is that if we sit on mid and we just like jump paint and just get general paint, and we move over this way and like we get paint all around here, it's shocking how much we can actually cover around the map. Because like as a splash player, and it's probably even more, I don't do this with T-Tech, so this is a fun experiment we'll do after this. But like as a splash player, like I can hit, obviously it's gonna, like you can't get this full thing cleared immediately, it takes some time, but like you like hit all of this basically with like your paint, just holding top mid. So if we want to paint like the outskirts of this map, we can sit up here and just like paint up here and not give up our positioning, you know? But again, this is something that you have to sit in recon mode and you have to like try it, or you have to like watch top players like paint properly, but you save yourself a ton of time and you're a lot more efficient by understanding like how your weapon paints. And people talk about like, oh, short range shooters, they take no skill, no brain to use. But like, if you want to get past where you're at now, and like, I would say collectively, most of everyone that I've talked to, I guess Fantar gets a little bit of a pass, but we're all kind of in this collective, like somewhere between low, high level to, you know, somewhere in low level or new to competitive. And like, in order to get out of that and start actually pushing to those higher ranks, because we're not all that different, you know. It sounds like +3 to, I don't know, like teams that can get alpha or do well in beta bracket and low ink, like we're all effectively in the same scenario. Yo, Fizzy Bomb, welcome in. Hello. Velvet Valentine, I like that name. That's a cool name. I hope y'all are doing well. How was the stream? How were the games? How was the stuff? Is that Zay? Did I pronounce that correctly? Please correct me if I mispronounced. I apologize. But what were we doing in Splatoon? How was everything? 9 hours. Whoa. Awesome. Hopefully you had a good time. Were you doing like I feel like if you're playing 9 hours of Splatoon, it has to be like a salmon run kind of thing. But yeah, I'm a competitive player. I'm not all that great. Pronounce it correctly. Thank you. And Vital, thank you for the follow. Oh wait, I think you beat us around one of Proving Grounds today. GG's. Velvet and Zale, thank you so much for the follows. Y'all are so kind. But yeah, in order to get past that, like, so anyways, we're doing some VOD reviews now. We'll probably play some solo queue later, but we're just kind of breaking down the game. You play for Frostbite? Yeah, y'all clapped us today. Good stuff. You diffed me. I forgot which game. I think it might have been the Mako game. You like hard diffed me. Oh no, I think it was the Inkblock game, but good stuff. That was a fun set for sure. I was doing rank for the first half, then just chilled in turf. Respect. 9 hours as a respect. Surprisingly, no salmon run. I feel like it's really hard to get value out of what you might call like playing Splatoon for that long without having that kind of game, or without having something to climb to like 9s is tough sometimes in Splatoon. But hopefully you had a good time, and I really appreciate you bringing in the raid and all the good vibes. Much appreciated. But yeah, for short range shooters, like these are the types of things that matter. Like, yes, pointing your weapon, especially if you're playing Splash or something that has no RNG, it's like, yeah, like that part isn't hard, but that's not the difference between a strong shooter player versus a poor shooter player. And a lot of it, part of it is like understanding paint, being efficient with it, being good with time. You know, like movement is obviously a whole other beast, but yeah, like having knowledge that we can sit here and just like get paint in all the areas that we want to, versus like dropping. Because exactly what you're doing now, Soda, is like something that I'll still catch myself doing. But as I get more comfortable and as I practice painting on all the different maps, there's a lot of ways for us to actually like get to be more efficient, both with our time and with our positioning. So we'll do it as an experiment on this map just to kind of demonstrate it once we're done with the review, but I just wanted to give a little bit of a primer for that. Finally hit S+ again after I dropped out the first time, just in time for the season to end. We take those, we take those. Congrats, congrats. What I'm guessing you were playing some sort of fizzy bomb weapon, but what weapon were you using? Although, you know, for a 9-hour stream, you might have been jumping around a little bit. Carbon Nova Squeezer, E-liters, and Salmon. Sheesh. Sounds like a fun rotation though, not gonna lie. But again, like the little paint and poke that you do over here is like great. But like we can also just like, we can get that same type of paint around this pillow, which tower is gonna be in that range like right now. So we want to control this. And we're just slow. If anyone was sharking already over here, or someone was dropping down here, like you missed the window to be able to defend the tower. You may not get punished for it in this game, but you're just like, you're leaving your tower rider very vulnerable in this spot. And we could have already have had this painted. You could have thrown a bomb to make it a little bit safer for you. And then, you know, we could have taken control of this whole area in this time versus your tower rider should probably die in this spot. They probably should be off tower, but if we played it better, then they should stay on tower. But I like the carefulness around the person in the pit, and we let the hammer take care of it. The strike is a lot better because we can actually like, our team can push in during an important time. Yeah, we're getting a little bit too focused on tower. Can I join? If we do stuff right now, we're probably not going to do like I'll probably just play X battles at some point, but right now we're just going over replays. But at a certain point, I would like to do more stuff with people in the stream, and I think when League stuff comes out next season, I think that would be a fun thing where we can get people together and kind of just like, you know, play and try to go for high scores and stuff. Jumping around, typically play Flingza. Let's go, another Flingza player. We love to hear it. Tri-stringer on tower, nice. Tri-stringer is too hard for me. Yeah, this is great. Again, I would still be more aggressive painting. Like you back up because you're not sure what you should do in this spot, but you should just safely paint whenever possible. It's like this is good. Not pushing that is good, but we could also like support this with a bomb and more paint, and also just make sure that there isn't someone that's going to jump on this person and get a pick. So while this person's dealing, also look at the animation. This person is upside though. So while they're pushing this way, like we can take control of both of these pillows like pretty freely. And then these all the games kicking your ass. Feels bad. I wonder if I have any tower replays for review. Hey, that's what we're here for. We do fully free reviews. I try to keep track of them through the Discord. We have a VOD submission channel, but if people either don't use Discord or feel uncomfortable or, you know, just don't want to join other like Discord servers, which I can understand, especially in the competitive community when there's like a million servers, you know, if you can just fill out the Google form, it's the replay code and just like a little bit of extra info about like the weapon you use and stuff that makes it easier for me to track on my end, because I try to archive like all the stuff that I document when it comes to like the reviews and stuff, so we can reference them later. But yeah, this movement back here is just like we're trying to figure out what we're supposed to do, and as we get better, like it's not just to say move forward because move forward, but instead of doing this and then it's like, oh okay, we can actually move forward now, like you have this helpless defenseless tower either. Like we can still either use tower as cover, we can use this pillow as cover, we can get a bomb up here. Like there's a lot of stuff that we can generally get paint for that is a lot more time. Like there's small time windows that we have to be able to actually paint. And again, when it comes back to, again, what makes a good shooter player and like the skill in playing a shooter weapon are these types of decisions. Knowing, okay, there's a small window and there's a ton of areas that we could potentially need to cover, and then this area over here, there's a ton of stuff that we need to potentially look to cover as one of the two painting weapons on the team. And understanding what to prioritize, how to prioritize it, the spacing, you know, understanding the range of your paint, understanding the range of you getting shots, and being able to put that into perspective of this team versus this team and all the other variables in the match. Like there's a lot that you have to like focus on. And that's what makes like a good shooter player. And when people cope and say certain weapons are easy to use and brainless and whatever, like they're just, it's a toxic mentality that's only gonna like hinder the community. Like as crazy in Splatoon, like we don't have like actual like paint guides. Like isn't that kind of crazy? Like Splatoon is a game about painting, and we don't have proper ways of painting. Like we have some methods in terms of like, you know, you can move your controller up and down and you can get like this very nice paint, but that's not how you that's not always applicable and like how you need to actually effectively paint. And again, this is why we go back into something like recon mode and we have to practice it ourselves, because we don't have guides of like, this is how you're supposed to be painting as like a T-Tech. And like, this is where you sit to get paint in these areas. And like, you know, if the Splatoon community, which, you know, I love the community, but like if we took this game a little bit more seriously, like we'd have like all these guides fleshed out. It's tough though, because like it's boring. It's not gonna, there's only a small niche interest of people that would actually get value out of it, because most people don't care. But there's a lot of decision making to things that people kind of just take for granted. It's light isn't fully free. It costs you one of your emotional brain cells. As everyone brutally roast you. If I had the energy and time, I'd love to make a guide. I'm with you. I'm with you. It's tough because like if someone made a like, you know, 20-minute guide on like painting and like how to paint on certain maps, it's like there would be no audience for it. You'd have like me and me. There might be other support players out there that like find it interesting, but you know. One second. Thank you for that, Ben Bem. But yeah, it's a good question. How do you you do have a replay code? Let me drop it in the forum. Awesome. That's a really interesting question. How would you go about developing like a paint guide and like strategy around paint? We'll sit in recon mode and I'll kind of talk through like my thought process, but depending on your weapon, there's a couple of different ways of doing it. Obviously, like the cop out answer is, but it really is the best way to like start doing it is like watch a top level player or like a, you know, a streamer that takes the game seriously and just kind of watch how they paint as like a starting point. There's a lot of like content from at least short range shooters. We have it good. You know, between Kiver, Melon, Kurokuro, there's other people that I watch. But those are like top level players that like stream very regularly and you can just like steal their stuff. So a lot of times just watching high level gameplay and just like, you know, trying to analyze it, but just mentally just like look at everything that they do. Don't just watch it for like entertainment. You're like, oh, like they're gonna take a fight. Oh, like they got that double. That's crazy. But like really just analyze all the decisions that they make. That, you know, the height at which they jump. Are they jumping versus dropping off of a ledge? You know, in certain spots, are they moving forward? Are they painting? How do they use their specials? Like there's infinite decisions that you can try to like dissect. And part of that, you have to also figure out what you're focusing on to try to improve, because you don't want to overwhelm yourself, because you're not going to be able to like pick everything out at once. But like over the last couple of weeks, we've gotten like a little bit of coaching and guidance from good players, and they've really mentioned that our team is dropping the ball on painting in a lot of spots. Sometimes that's because of our comp, but a lot of times it's because of my lack of prioritization and my inefficiency in the way that I paint. So that's something that I've been like super dialed in whenever I watch, like, you know, I'll watch Melon, who's like a top level Japanese player, like tournament winning Japanese player, probably one of the best players that plays this game. And I will watch a 2-hour rotation and I'll be like hyper focused on like how they're painting. And like the situations, the positions that they sit when they paint, there's so much to dissect, but I can give like a tiny little, just like a little sampler of, you know, and I'm only me. I'm not saying my advice is optimal, but kind of how I approach it. But it is an interesting kind of thought process. But it's weird that like we don't really talk about it at all. Like we talk about general painting, but I would say that in most cases, like no one actually paints like that. Like all the, and like those, don't get me wrong, that content is valuable, but most people don't paint like that in most scenarios. Because it's not like, you don't need like a pure block of like your own paint. In certain cases, you want to cut off enemy paint completely. But like you just need like general coverage of paint in a lot of spots. And in certain scenarios you do, like especially for farming for a special, you want to be as efficient with your painting as possible. But like when you're moving forward and getting like general coverage of paint so that your teammates have the ability to move in different scenarios, like when you have this kind of game where you have a Luna Blaster or like a Glugaz or whatever, it's like, I mean, it's for the whole team, but like for something like Luna Blaster that needs space and needs paint to move forward, they don't care if there's this nice solid block of it. They just want they want the ability to move around as much as possible. So being quick and getting like a large spread of paint, they'll figure out how to make it work. But you know, but it does bring interesting like theoretical questions of like what is the optimal like way to paint? And I'm sure there is an answer, but part of it depends on the scenario and like what you're trying to accomplish. But even in those more specific scenarios, I don't actually know. There are optimal paint paths, important spots highlighted. No specifics in a guide. Yeah, no, I'm with you. And it's tough because like, I don't know, like a guide doesn't encapsulate it perfectly. It's really getting to the thought process behind it all and like what you need to be thinking about, which is a little bit harder than just being like, oh, paint this area, because you need to understand why and you need to understand when. So again, the best thing that I would recommend is like be aware of like what you're doing and try to compare what you're doing to like what other people are doing. And if you do have replay codes and stuff to watch, like you can see commonalities of like what areas teams are prioritizing when they're painting. But it's a very interesting topic that's probably too dry for this community to want to digest. What doesn't fly you makes you shrug. Drop the replay. Thank you. Appreciate you. What's up, Seth? The other thing that's important for because this is like shooters that usually have like good coverage of paint, but when it comes to something like a bucket and its ability, like it doesn't provide nice coverage of paint, but it can hit certain areas. One thing I've noticed when watching a lot of buckets, and especially like people that are newer to buckets, because I think a lot of people on our team are flexing, picking up buckets. And one thing that I'll notice that they don't do, that when I watch top players that they do often, is like they'll poke over ledges on important spots, and they'll do it at like an optimal range. And like as they're moving forward, they know what they need to be hitting without thinking about it. And it's this very fluid kind of motion. So I can do that as an example as well. Not that I have like the perfect answers, but just kind of what I've seen in certain spots. But anyways, that is that's a long tangent about painting. I don't know what point I was initially trying to make, but hopefully there's value in that. Effective paint control and stuff. Yeah, Jim or like Squid School, they did a pretty good video about defensive painting, but the tough part about a game that's as complex as Splatoon when it comes to like the paint mechanic and stuff is like you almost need like a guide on how to apply it in like a lot of different scenarios to at least get the brain going. So I think the video on defensive painting is like really good as like a primer, but actually applying it is tough. Maybe I should think of Machine as a dynamo. Partially. The biggest thing about poking over those ledges is like it gives us information, and it also just gets paint in important spots that can be hard to hit. Because there's certain spots we were going over, or we weren't really going over. I was quickly searching through one of the, it was an Inkblot Zones game that I played in solo queue right before I started streaming. And there were certain spots where I needed to paint over a ledge that I just like failed to do. And I didn't get punished for it necessarily, but I have been in the spots where I did get punished. So like a pre-fire. Yeah, definitely pre-fire. I'll go over it, but I was going over Fantar's gameplay, and they were playing double bucket against Alliance Rogue on Scorchforge Rainmaker, and that whole game is so good. It's just the beauty of just like them hitting important paint spots to control certain areas. So yes, part of it's a pre-fire, but also part of it is like just moving around and like rotating and just having as much of a presence. That's another thing that I struggle with a lot, that I need to be more fluid in the way that I paint and the way that I move. But it's tough, like kind of what we saw with Soda here, where like Soda's backing up because they like need a second to figure out like, okay, what am I doing next? I find myself in that situation all the time, and a lot of top players, it's just like muscle memory to them of like, we need to hold this spot, this spot, this spot. And like, based off of the weapon that I have and the information that I have, this is what I need to prioritize first. Also, another thing that I've noticed with is going back to like machine play, because that's been something that watching a lot of Fantar with the replays that they provided me. Thank you again. I feel like they play, and some of it's stylistic, but I feel like I'll notice myself, and when I watch kind of the rest of our team, there's a lot of times where we're throwing fizzy bombs, or we should not be throwing fizzy bombs, and we just need to get like hit those important spots of painting with the machine, and we put ourselves in very dangerous spots with that. Anyways, that's, sorry, I went on many tangents there. I've been in a very analytical phase of my brain, and it's leaking. I'm trying to get out all of my thoughts, and they're not organized in a way that's relevant for anyone except for myself. But yeah, again, in this type of spot, we don't need to worry about getting on tower. I wouldn't worry about, like, don't worry about tower. We want to like, ideally we want to like push past it, or we can like use this potentially, but we want to hit paint in these areas and try to get information, which partially like one of our teammates is getting onto the tower. But even if our teammate wasn't here, I still don't want us to get on the tower. We don't need to like push forward, because we need to get it to the checkpoint and hold for a little bit. And we have a little bit of an advantage, but we need to keep cleaning this stuff up, or at least paint. We don't have to like find splats necessarily to like, you know, we have the player advantage that we need. We can beat them through attrition at this point by just outpainting them. And we're just too focused on like worrying about the tower instead of playing around it. And because we're so focused on getting on the tower, we lose our awareness everywhere else. Which I'm guessing that person probably dropped off the right side. Did we never spot them after the hammer stuff? I don't remember. I thought we got the spot. Oh no. Dude, this poor Splash has gotten bullied all game for this this Tetra. Yeah, this is a very just overall awkward scenario of like what's going on, but yeah. But again, in this spot, we can tap tower, but we just want to make sure that we're getting our paint when we're going in. Generally, this is kind of okay. Kind of. But I don't know. Again, it's minor. I'm okay with us taking this kind of space because of like the weapons that are left. We have high ground and we should not lose a ranged fight if we play it very disciplined. But I would much rather us just get paint out in this kind of scenario. I'd rather drop a bomb under this ledge and just very generally get paint. We don't need picks at this point. We need to provide information from our team. And because we have control of this dome area, if someone ends up, like if there's a T-Tech like over here, and as we start painting, if they pop out as we're like painting forward, then we can just retreat back and like stay out of their range. And if they keep trying to like fight us, then our teammates should eventually be able to come in and like support us. So I don't hate this. Like this isn't a bad play, but depending on the vision that they had, and we can check from their perspective after this, like they might know that you're sharking here, you know? Like they might be aware that you're here, and they could potentially pre-fire you in this kind of spot, or like I don't know. It might not be, yeah, I think they actually do see you, because they do start taking shots, but they might also just be checking that. But I just don't like us taking this kind of fight here. We had high ground up here, and I'd rather us just get clean coverage so that it's easier for the rest of our team to be able to kind of move in. Because in this type of spot, when we're up here, and this goes back to the exercise we'll do in recon mode with paint, we can get paint, like we want to focus this area first because this is likely where people are going to be. So that's where I would drop the bomb down over here and get some paint. But like we can clean up from the dome, we can control all of this area for paint, which allows, you know, our blaster and the rest of our team to be able to potentially push through. Obviously they got to deal with people over here and all this stuff, but I'd rather us leverage the control we have over here versus just immediately looking for a fight. This feels like a coin flip in a lot of ways, which like you technically have like a little bit more range because you have additional height than them. So like it's technically in your favor, but I think you had better odds winning the game, playing it a little bit more in control. But obviously you're, you know, mechanical god, so we're chilling. Yeah, and we're focused a little bit on tower versus the overall control, which yeah, there was that person still behind us that we might have tunneled and missed, but they splatted someone on our team. They got one, but then they get another one. And like in this spot, again, I just want us to win the war of attrition. I want us to be painting this area, get bombs, paint this area, like just hold this area in front of the tower so that the enemy team has to like drop in weird spots, or they're stuck up here until they have specials and can push. But we're just not being efficient with our time. Like we're throwing a bomb here, but like we already missed our opportunity to play with them. They probably played it a little bit too fast, but they had better chance of survival in order, you know, if you were able to move forward and paint with them. And then yeah, there's the splat happens over here. They ouch afterwards, and then we're so focused on this. To take lead, like Tri-Strike is like fine, I guess, but yeah, again, like our overall ability to survive and get more value, we probably can get more value with just using our main weapon and just painting. Yeah, now we can play more controlled. I like us playing wide. A little bit dangerous there is potential we get directed, but you know, I think the overall idea of what we're trying to accomplish here is good. Some of our mechanics and spacing leaves us at a little bit of risk, but you know, that's something that, again, going back to what makes a good shooter versus like a good shooter player versus someone that thinks Splash is easy and they just pick it up, which yes, Splash is very easy to start using, but there's a lot of very basic things that that take time to actually develop that understanding. But I like the overall idea, but we're a little bit I hope clumsy isn't too mean of a word, but we're very clumsy and we're not very deliberate with the way that we're positioning and what we're painting and everything. We don't talk about the bomb depth. Yeah, it happens. Yeah, like you heard that bomb over there and you dodged it, so that was good. I like your positioning to be more defensive here. This is fine. Again, I would be painting in this spot, which yeah, I think you're chilling. Yeah. Again, these are minor things, but like I wouldn't even jump off of this, and try check's fine. There's no point in hyper analyzing in this kind of scenario, but like we're very quick to give up our positioning. We're very quick to just like, I don't know. Like I don't think we fully understand the ramifications, which again, like if I'm super analytical about my own games, the same things I'm saying about you happens to me all the time. But there's a lot of minor decisions that we make in terms of how we, like when we move forward, when we move back, where we're painting, when we're painting, how we're painting. All of these micro decisions, some of them have different layers of ramifications compared to others. And I don't think that we fully understand, you know, like it feels like we're not necessarily following best practices when it comes to a lot of this. And you know, when we're playing at lower level scenarios and we're not playing against people that are going to actively punish us for these types of things, then it's hard to know that, oh, I jumped off of a ledge and this ended up putting us in a weird spot, because you just don't get punished for it. But you want to try to catch yourself, and that's why watching like higher level players, you know, just if you can find someone. Also, I think it's Lily Gravy Bread. Thank you for the follow, much appreciated. I believe you're a streamer, if I'm not mistaken. So go follow them. I think they're like EU time slot of, Australia time slot. Really enjoying this? Awesome to hear. I know that you stream really late hours, and when I'm on DGen hours, sometimes I lurk a little bit. Hope you're doing well. Hopefully, I don't know what time it is for you, but hopefully it's okay. I think it's DGen hours for me, so it's probably pretty okay for you. So yeah. So just comparing what we do to what someone that already has gone through this phase of like flushing out these bad habits because they've been punished time and time and time again, through playing, you know, constantly playing in like +1 scrims or constantly placing and competing against the best players. All of that you'll get in time, but you want to try to catch yourself so that you can correct some of these bad habits. And that's the toughest thing about playing at lower levels, is that it takes a lot of deliberate effort in order to spot your own bad habits. And it's the importance of being able to find scrim partners that are like on average better than you. Because the overall goal is that they're helping you find weak spots in your game that are not getting punished otherwise. And you're really not, you know, you're not always going to be put to the test in terms of like how you paint or like how you take fights and stuff. So it's easy to like overlook things, because if you don't get punished from them, it's hard to otherwise kind of figure that stuff out. So anyways, overall pretty good game. A couple things I would mention. The biggest thing is I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase it, but going back to like your overall special usage, I'm just going to put the word specials, and we can kind of detail some of the specific parts of specials. Again, different weapons and different specials, you have to think about this differently. But, you know, for something like T-Tech with Tri-Strike and everything else, one of the things that we have to consider is if we have a special ready, like how do we get good value? How to get value from, I'm just gonna say from it. It's like, how do we get value out of a Tri-Strike? And again, this goes back to like, we don't really have a lot of great guides on this stuff as well. You kind of just have to watch good players and like figure it out. And like applying that into your own games is tough. And this is like, how do you get value from Tri-Strike? I don't know the perfect answer. I'm gonna be honest. It's something I struggle with deeply. I'm a K-shot player at heart. I'm just spamming missiles over here. I got better at timing missiles, but in terms of like, there's so many variables when it comes to using Tri-Strikes, and it's tough. And I wish that smart people gave that information because it's tough. But it's one thing that we want to consider. And I think right now you're at the spot where it's like, I have special, I'm going to go use special, and I'm just going to hope that something happens. There was a couple of times when Tower was moving forward and starting to break through this choke point where you're using Tri-Strikes to get, like, to allow your teammates to move in. And those Tri-Strikes are definitely good. I can't nitpick those because I don't know the answers in terms of, like, timing and stuff. Like, you can obviously, like, time them so that they all go off at the same time. You can time them, or you can position them in ways to, like, section people off. So like if you throw one here, like one here, I don't know, like you can create like these little walls. Like I think Jim Squid School did like a video on one of Pika's Tri-Strikes where they like kind of did a wall, or maybe it was Krem. I think it was Pika, I don't remember, but they're playing on Hagglefish TC. I think it was like during a tournament, but like there's some interesting different setups for it. If you watch a team like Alliance Rogue play, they'll use Tri-Strikes as a way to smokescreen, which that word is overused all the time, but you know, it has validity to it. But they'll like smokescreen and basically establish paint and establish visual clutter so that their carbon Volti is able to like push through and have an opportunity to get through for free. But yeah, in a general, a general comp, like what we don't have anything super specific like that. Like, you know, there was a spots like when we used it aggressively and we used them like basically like just in this general area when Tower was in this kind of spot, like it did allow for our Luna Blaster to move forward, which is sick. That's what we want to do. But you know, there's countless examples where, oh, I'm top mid. Just gonna throw some over here, even though our team's not ready to push. Oh, Tower is ready. I'm just going to sit on Tower as it's moving forward. My poor Splash is getting bullied by a Tetra over here. I'm moving away from that fight. And instead of trying to support that, I'm just going to throw Tri-Strikes over here. You know, maybe that Tri-Strike gets a pick. And like we're the first ones out and we paint for a Tri-Strike. And there's a Luna somewhere probably back in one of these spots. And we just pop our Tri-Strikes and we just kind of throw them in random spots, which, you know, realistically should be, it's not non-zero, but it's effectively 0% chance that we ever get spots in those scenarios. Unless someone's like controller disconnects or you catch them doing some really funny stuff. So I just want us to be a little bit more deliberate. And again, as someone that's trying to play Splash Neo, is tough. Because I don't fully know the answer. And when I watch like Kuro's played a lot of zones with Splash Neo, on their like YouTube channel, and sometimes it's hard to replicate what they do. A lot of times they'll use it so that they can actually be aggressive with it, but again, it's time and place. But yeah, that's tough. The other thing I would say is just like, which this is a very general concept that is really important, but it's main weapon versus special value. So how much value do you get out of not using your special and using your main weapon or sub weapon or a combination of the two versus how much value do you actually get from, that's not a for you. How much value do we get from popping Tri-Strike? Wait, 10 the early. Because there was a lot of spots like this one where you were sitting on tower, moving away from the Tetra that was bullying your splash. Like you just pop special when you could have just dropped off tower and assisted with that play. But there's other spots in general where like you miss out on like timing windows to be able to very safely paint and get more, like you can take more space, and instead you pop specials, which, you know, using Tri-Strike, it doesn't paint a lot. It takes a long time to like get out and everything, and we just need to be more aware of it. You know, being able to like perfect that is tough, but I want you to at least ask these questions in terms of using specials, because you're losing value out of the special, but the biggest thing is like you're losing value out of like just your weapon and your role in the overall match. Which, talking about role, paint, we put the pain out of the word paint because we didn't paint really well. We didn't focus on it. We were really focused on like the super slayer role in a lot of spots. There were certain times where we painted, and we want to use paint for info. We want to use it for control over certain parts of the map, and we want to use it for I'm gonna try to fit the word mobility in here, but we want to allow for the rest of our teammates to be mobile in something like a Luna Blaster, or if you play with a Carbon, or if you play with like any kind of Slayer. But it also is important for like short range shooters and just for yourself in general, where you're able to give yourself way more options by just painting. And there's certain times, like the other thing I would say is like paint, which this contrast is not working in my favor, paint versus fight. And I think we autopilot to just fighting. So again, this is a very nuanced, I can't describe this, and I make mistakes prioritizing this all the time. But I would say in most cases, like paint is very, very good and underrated, and we should do it more. You know, it's not to say you shouldn't fight, because especially in a meta where there's a lot of like short range shooters and stuff, there's a lot of opportunities that we miss out on. You know, bullying something like a splash with our extra range, and you know, like there's definitely good advantages of where we can fight, but it's really important for us to make sure that we're establishing paint, because the biggest thing is like getting down good paint enables us to fight better and gives us better percentages when it comes to taking fights. And when we were sitting in this kind of situation here, and we saw that their T-Tech was like moving out of spawn and stuff, like we immediately, like all of this was like enemy paint basically. And like we looked for an opportunity to drop on this person, which isn't the worst thing, but just getting general paint helps with the objective, and it gives you an easier opportunity either for you to take this fight, because you're safe up here. You don't need to like, you don't have to like drop and fight. Like if this person tries to take a fight with you and it's like this one-on-one or whatever, like if you stall this for long enough, the tower is moving this way. So like one of your teammates can move through and like clean it up. So we have to be comfortable like playing in control, and to see a fight play out over, you know, the course of 7 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Like these fights are like, as long as you know that you're an advantage by just like painting and holding control and having this high ground here, we don't like, there's spots where we can just avoid the fight. And if they want to sit here and just shoot at us for, you know, while the tower gets to this checkpoint, that's fine. That's cool. We're chilling. We want to make sure that we're managing our paint properly so that we, you know, once the timing hits when we're you know, when someone's pushing in, or the timing when, you know, maybe there's an opportunity where this person gets distracted and looking at something else, or maybe they look at tower and then you can jump on them at that point because you're like, they're not focused on you anymore. You also want to make sure that you're like managing your ink tank and everything, so that if you need to lead with a bomb or whatever, like, again, these are all super fine details of decisions that are important when you're playing a short range shooter that people tend to gloss over when they make general statements about certain weapons being very easy and certain weapons not taking any skill or not using your brain. It's like, yes, shooting the weapon is not difficult, but all these decisions are extra important for these shooter players and these supports, because these other two people cannot play the game if we're not painting. And in a lot of cases, your weapons were not able to play the game because they were unable to paint. This person was not able to play the game because they were getting bullied by this Tetra all game long. And some of that we can assist them directly, and we can also assist them by providing paint. So that's the biggest thing. There's a lot of like small mechanical things, like, you know, there was a lot of times where you would just like max range jump for no reason, or like, you know, at the very beginning of this match, you like jumped off this ledge and like max height jump to try to take a fight with this Tetra, and like just overall discipline is important. But I think we have enough high level stuff for you to focus on, with focusing on paint and focusing on specials, and really just understanding the priority of when to focus on what, you know, understand the priority of when to focus objective versus taking fights. Like there's a lot of very common things that you need to work on in the same way that, you know, I still need to work on those things. But I would mainly focus, like we're really getting ourselves into trouble by spamming specials when we don't need to, and like we're not painting nearly enough based off of the, you know, sample size of one game. So, you know, some of that might need to be a more analytical approach and understanding what our role is given the comp. Like this might help as well. And just understanding that this team is playing fast and this team is playing in control, and understanding that dynamic in a lot of interactions. If you have the opportunity to take a 1v1, it's like, can we just win through control and through painting and through our like really strong specials, like our team oriented specials that we can push with on tower? Or is it better to take a fight? And sometimes you have to weigh the specific scenario itself, you know, like you versus a Tetra in the spot. And you also think about, you know, you have to like weigh the odds of everything in terms of the overall game state. So there's a lot of things that you have to really think about when making these types of things. I'm not trying to overload your brain, but just, you know, as you continue to work on these types of things that I mentioned, which I think these are most important, but as you continue to learn, continue to improve, get more reps, play against better teams, hopefully win the low ink next month, unless if y'all don't already get banned before that. But you know, as you continue to improve, I'm trying to give you some things that can help give you some ideas of what you should be working on. So if you have any other specific questions, I didn't actually check if you had questions on the form. Let me just quickly double check. Yeah. So hopefully that's good. If you have anything specific that you were wondering about, just let me know. But yeah, overall good stuff, both competitively and in this match. Oh yeah, the real quick thing. So we'll show stats real quick. Yeah, it's pretty reasonable. And the funny thing is, like, again, stats you have to put into context. And while outputting 7 ink strikes or tri-strikes is like not bad, I would probably say like 5 or 6 of these strikes were just wasted. And less than wasted, it was actually like negative value. Like they actually hindered your team with you using the special versus just painting instead. So that's the other thing that you want to consider. Like it's good to have, like we want to have good special output because that is an important concept. But you know, we have to balance between quality and quantity, and not every tri-strike has to be a game-winning tri-strike. But we need to, you know, when going back to when should we use our main weapon versus when should we use our special, that's something that we need to prioritize. overall paint numbers don't actually look too bad. And there was times where like I think you did a good job of painting, but again, I think some of the painting that you did was probably paint that would be better suited for your splash. You could have probably pushed a little bit more forward, taken more space, and been able to take more uncomfortable painting areas that are really important to get to, that you can do a better job of with your range and your bomb versus something like a splash. Also, splash wants to keep high ground so it can get value out of its crab. So it wants to sit in more like it wants to do more backliney type painting, versus like the aggressive painting that's potentially dangerous. But really quick, I just wanted to go into recon mode just to show the principle of painting from top mid. I'm actually interested to see how it looks for T-Tech because I've only done it with Splash, and I've only done it on probably like half the maps. And I have to actively go back and do this exercise because, you know, as I watch other people and as my understanding of painting is better. I don't know when's the last time I played a T-Tech. It's been a while. This is something that, you know, and this is always like if I'm watching like a video essay on like YouTube or something, or if I'm watching someone stream, or I'm waiting for, you know, something to process. You don't have to like sit and have like these long, you know, many hours. Sometimes I do it because that's how I enjoy when I can't sleep. This is my fun. is wasting too much time in recon mode. But yeah. You can make a PB, but don't you need a second person? Also, welcome in, Spanish Armada. Don't you need a second person to do that, or can you do it by yourself? That would actually save me quite a bit of time if I could do that. But oh yeah, this is zones, which is a similar concept. But you know, like when you were trying to paint like the outskirts of this map over here, for example, like you would drop down. Like you like drop down and it's like, okay, I'm gonna paint this, and then I'm moving this way, and I'm painting this, and I'm gonna go this way, and I'm painting this, and like, you know, you're farther away from mid. And if we want to make a Splatoon chess comparison, like holding the center and having center control is important in Splatoon in the same way that it is in chess. I think you can do it by yourself. Oh, I need to test that actually. Thank you. But the other thing in terms of like getting that paint is like you can get that paint from like this type of painting here. Like you can paint over these ledges. Like obviously this isn't the best, you know, like understanding like what you need to prioritize and stuff. Oops. And like, you know, doing this quickly is something you'll have to work on. Oh man. But like if you look at just like the paint that you can accomplish, like whatever it is that you're trying to hold control of, I can. I am not in play mode right now. Like you can take full paint in mid. Like obviously your paint isn't going to look like this, or like the whole thing is fully covered in your ink, because it takes a long time to do. But if there's little areas that you want to hit, just hit them from mid, and then now you're back here versus having to drop and do a bunch of other stuff. So that's just like a nice little just efficiency tip. And there's a lot of maps where you can do that in high ground. Another example on this map is like when we were on Dome. So like we were sitting here and we like sat in this ink and we're like ready to drop on this person. And like we're looking to take this fight. But like, again, we can throw a bomb like this and just get general paint and just like, look at this coverage that we have. Obviously we don't want to be on this ledge if we don't know that there's still people down here. If there's people down here and you start doing this, then you're just going to get spotted. Or you might have like, you want to be careful about this type of jumping and stuff too, because if they have a Tetra that's rolling in on you, then you'll get punished. But I just want to demonstrate just like the overall paint range, how much value you can get out of painting and holding down this specific area. You can't do it in solo, feels bad. They should, like, I don't know why they don't allow you to do that, but yeah. And so this is something that I really want to like kind of show you, because like if you can hold off this amount of area for them to paint, especially since their comp had no range, like you just sit here and we chill. They can't sit behind this box because, you know, like technically they can cling to this wall. But like if they're trying to take this fight over here, like you know, we should be able to win the spacing battle because we win the range battle because we have value. So obviously if they're approaching you, you don't want to just be doing this. You want to make sure that you're, you know, focused on them, but also you can just do general painting as you're like moving around and just keep this area, you know, comfortable, and you can throw a bomb and potentially look to poke at them. But we don't want to fully engage on the fight, and we don't want to be in a spot where we're like sitting here and just like, you know, hoping the RNG that we end up winning the fight. Because those are like coin flips that we want to avoid, because we win this through control alone. So we want to be comfortable in a lot of these positions. I already painted everything, but like, again, this is like another thing. So anyways, what I do in recon mode is like, I'll just sit here and I'll just like, you know, if we're trying to push out from our base, I can't push mid because I'm like scared of a lot of spots, but just like, how much range can I get from just like, you know, painting normally versus jump painting, you know, like how much little extra range can you get? And it's like, okay, with T-Tac, I can get a little bit of paint around this corner, which makes it harder for someone to swing on us in certain spots. We obviously can get some paint on mid so that they can't just drop on us in this type of spot. And this is like the type of painting that Machine can capitalize on a lot better. But even as a short range shooter, like you can still get paint, like paint over this ledge. So like if someone's sharking behind there, again, you know, if they're looking for a play and you're just jumping like this, you want to be a little bit more careful. But like, you know, as you're moving out, you can get paint in these areas. When you end up taking this fight over here, instead of just like, you know, coin flipping over on the right side here, you know, you can get a bomb here, you can paint over the top, you know, you can paint this way and like, you know, get the initial paint and like move backwards and just like stay mobile. You don't need to get full coverage over here, but like if you get paint, just like real quick, it's like 4 or 5 shots, like this little quick motion right here, that gives us any way that they're trying to approach on us, we slow them down and they can't just like, you know, move at us. They could potentially jump over it and they can be pinning over it as well. But like, these are just like minor things that you can do to just make it a lot easier for you. And if they try to force this fight when you get this paint down, then yeah, you can potentially look for this type of play. You can shoot over it. Like there's a lot of ways that you can approach it, but in certain spots, it's good to get paint down in certain areas. Also, Jake Crew, thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. But these are the types of things that you really want to be focusing on when you're doing like the defensive painting and stuff and putting it into practice. And while I'm not recommending that, you know, for every weapon you play, you need to go into every single map mode and you should know every single part of all of this, obviously that's not fully realistic. It can be realistic over, you know, if you play Splatoon competitively or play ranked and stuff, you know, if you break it down into bite-sized pieces, you probably could get very comfortable with this over the course of, you know, a couple of months maybe. But not that you need to be on like a routine for all of it, but like if you're going into a tournament, you know the map pool, you know that there's, you know, you're playing Manta for Rainmaker Clan Blitz, you're playing you know, Mako is a very common map in the map pool. If there's stuff that either you struggle on personally or you feel uncomfortable or you get punished in a lot of places, you know, start with those. Have it be a more active process. But the other thing I wanted to quickly show was Machine. And I'm gonna cheat a little bit by choosing there's a couple of good maps to do it, but I'll cheat a little bit and go to, because we were watching this before with Fantar's gameplay, and they demonstrated this really well, but they just instinctually like hit all these spots. So I didn't know that some of these tips I already habitually do. Awesome. Yeah. Like, and yeah, a lot of this stuff. And it's the other thing, especially for like players that aren't top level, like people have different habits and they have certain things that they do really well. And there's some things that they don't do very well at all. And yeah, so that's good to hear. Also, I need to use my actual monitor for this because, you know, lag through OBS and everything. Frozen, figure out paint ranges for all 3 of your weapons. For all 64 map modes. I mean, so with like a lot of map modes, like you can kind of figure it out through like anytime when you're trying to analyze this game, I wouldn't focus, like if you're trying to learn Scorch Gorge, I wouldn't focus on like, you know, we need to learn Scorch zones and then Scorch, you know, clams and everything. Like there's definitely nuance between playing zones versus TC versus all the different map modes. But like in general, you can just look at the map as a whole. I know that like you're kind of memeing with your comment, but as you're learning the game, like it's something that you will learn as you like you focus on the map first, and then there'll be mode specific things that you want to prioritize. So anyways, when people are pushing for first checkpoint, I can't go overhead because I'm not in a replay, but like, you know, when you're fighting for mid, we'll take this into different phases. But anyways, this is a very common phase where if we're trying to push the Rainmaker in here, like they're gonna, on defense, they want to hold these types of spots if they can. They want to be up here, not for this weapon specifically, but the enemy team, they want to sit over here. They might be over here potentially and like watching ledge, or they might be sitting back here, you know, watching mid and everything. And if you're actually actively pushing, yo Sky, thank you for the follow. I much appreciated. And if you start actually pushing the Rainmaker, then like, you know, they're going to probably drop, you know, people love to shark here and drop, or like, you know, if you're pushing for mid, they might shark here and drop on you and get the stop. But even when you're starting to finally push it, it's like people might sit here, or they'll sit like here, or like on top of this, you know, like on this back wall of it, or they'll just like look for opportunities to like push forward and crash in. So for example, with like, with Machine, and when we were watching like Fantar and them play, like both of their buckets did a really good job of just like checking these areas. So like if the bucket was the farthest forward and like they just need to check areas, it's like, okay, I'm hitting this, hitting this, hitting this, and then I can hit over like this wall as well. Like I'm hitting over these spots. I'm getting paint on these areas. I'm preemptively painting these types of locations that they may try to drop from. And obviously, like as they're moving forward, they might first hit this before they can get dropped on. But like a big part of understanding this is like knowing what the enemy's trying to do. At a certain level, Splatoon just becomes like player versus player. And obviously the weapons and stuff make a big deal. But like if you can understand like the habits and like how the enemy is going to play, and you can pick that up throughout the duration of the match, like you can get a huge advantage. But it's also something that, you know, most players, and it's the good thing about solo queue is that you can pick up on general tendencies based off of just like grinding solo queue or just grinding the game generally. But like they'll just hit these spots and they're not like super focused. Like they're not just sitting here and like, oh, I'm going to make sure that no one's sitting over here because this isn't effective. You're vulnerable. You're sitting in the same spot. But like we're just hitting a couple of spots, and like Fantar did such a great job. There was a moment where there was a carbon, like they saw the carbon over here and they got shots here. They got shots like over this ledge to control them off of it. And they'd get a couple of shots. They'd move over this way. And then, you know, enemies using specials, so they have to back up a little bit. And then once the, like, I think enemy used 3 specials. So like while the crab and tri-strikes are going off, like they just backed up off this ramp completely. And then, you know, and the enemy team had a Booyah Bomb that they threw. And like, as the Booyah Bomb came out, that was like, Alliance Rogue used all their specials in that spot. So now Fantar understands, oh, they use all their specials, so we can go back to being more aggressive and poking at these spots. So they immediately went back, held this area, went immediately back into this spot, hit these spots, you know, and understanding like where you can hit, being on top of this ledge versus being like, this is another nice safe spot because you have a lot of options to back up and everything. But just knowing like what you can hit and what you need to commit in order to do that. Sometimes their buckets would take spots over here because they could like bully over this ledge as well. And, you know, this also allows them to like back up. But this is like the level of comfort that you need to understand. And even if you play an easy weapon like a sloshing machine, or you play an easy weapon like a splash, this is the difference between a good player and an amazing player. It's not like, you know, you watch certain bucket players, they're like swinging and hitting like these 180 shots. And that's nice. And like being able to like aimbot on people is like nice. You watch a player like Kyo and it's like, okay, they just kind of hit everything. Obviously that's a skill in its own, but understanding, and this is something that, especially for us players that don't have the greatest mechanics, this is using our brains, and this is the decision-making part of Splatoon, is understanding how they're going to approach what ledges they're trying to jump off of, and being proactive on hitting those spots. Get the paint in those areas. In order to hold down this ledge, we don't have to sit here. Like there are cute plays that we can go for, like with a fizzy bomb, we can get that across and it can give us a lot of chip, but we don't to hold this ledge, we don't just have to sit here and just keep doing this. We don't have to just like, you know, shark right here. Oh, is there on? We need to make sure this ledge is covered. So I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to keep shooting shots and I'm just going to sit here. Like, you can hold the ledge by taking a couple of shots, move over, take a couple more shots, move back over if you need to. But just get a general feel for like where the enemy team's trying to approach. You know, figuring out cute angles with your fizzy bombs is actually a lot of fun. But, you know, the lineups aren't all that important. But just understanding your range and like where you can be. Same thing with mid. It's like, if you want to hit over these like ledges and stuff, and I'm not like a good machine player, so don't look at my ranges and be like, oh, this is how you do it. You have to test it out yourself. But like, if someone's potentially sitting over here, like preemptively, like if there's a splash or if there's a stamper or something sitting on this wall, like as you're moving forward, just get a couple of shots. You can move back after, you know, we don't want to just like swing wide and just start taking fights and like doing like a bunch of very, coin flippy and risky type of plays. Like this also goes into like the defensive painting, is like hitting over areas where it's very common that the enemy team's going to be sitting. And if the enemy team has a carbon or something, like obviously you don't want to swing close to here or else you're just going to always die. But even if you swing out wide here, like you just put yourself vulnerable to any mid-range or long range over here. Like this person could also be like sharking here and they're ready to jump at you and you get one shot. So it's just like, get some information, hit some of these ledges, get a feel for like what's going on here. And maybe you can hit certain spots, you know, if you have control of mid, if someone's sitting behind this pillar, like understand where you need to be on this grate in order to hit certain areas. If we want to get shots over this ledge, how far do we have to be on the grate in order to like hit those shots? It's like this doesn't fully cover it, but it does cover some stuff. But it's like, you know, we need to be in this area to be able to get over this ledge and get that information and potentially, you know, zone them off. And just like, having a good feel for all of this is really important. Another thing for Rainmaker specifically, which like I'm not going for like mood specific stuff, but they did such a good job of, you know, after first check, once they had an opening, they use this to push through. Because a lot of times people want to push forward past it, and like even playing like right here is like super dangerous. And so they'd actually use this. You can also just like climb it normally if it's up. I actually need to, I want to check something real quick, but like, you know, you can play behind this wall. So like if you want to start moving forward and start hitting over certain areas, you know, instead of pushing this person directly when you're in open space and like there might be a person over here, over here, over here, up there that is ready to punish you, you know, like you can outrange a lot of stuff if you, like a splash isn't going to hit you in these types of spots. Like you hit a couple of spots, make the jump over, or if you know the space is there, like if people are down. But like if you don't have the information, you poke and get the information. And you know, sometimes there's small windows for you to be able to like take this type of spot. Like Fantar played this spot so well. They almost won the game because they went for this type of play and they got a pick on someone. Both teams did it really well. I think Scar was the machine player on Alliance Rogue and they made a similar play here. It was super, super great. But you know, you can go for this type of play. You have cover in this type of spot and you're like pushing past. This helps with the push past the Rainmaker, which is really hard after getting first checkpoint, is like finding space. Like you have height here. You can use this as cover. You have a ledge. So if you ever need to, like if they pop a crab, you know, like if they're up there as a splash and they get a crab and they pop the crab, if we push this far in, we're dead. You know, like crab always kills us in this type of spot. But, you know, at any point, we can always drop off the ledge, use cover, get back into position, or drop off the ledge completely. Oh, our teammates are down. I need to hold mid. I'm going to poke these areas and I'm going to, you know, I don't want to play all the way over here because I don't want to get dropped on. But, you know, I can poke these areas, hold control of these areas. And also, like, you know, when people are like pushing, because when people are coming back in, like they'll use this wall to push into, you know, to take this area up here and start looking to take mid. And if you're holding like left side, this is like, again, just creative, knowing your spaces. If we know that someone's trying to push in, like maybe we can hit some of these spots. Dropping out here is very dangerous. So I wouldn't do this unless you like have a knowledge advantage of like where they're going and you know you can punish. But you can very easily like, you know, I think you can actually hit this from here potentially. But just know what those ranges are, know what this looks like. Know how far you can potentially hit something. If you're trying to hit over this ledge, what does that look like? Can you do it from back here? Do you want to use it up close if they're, you know, a very specific type of weapon? This is like getting good with a machine. Obviously, there's still a million other decisions that you have to make. But when it comes to comfort and it comes to things that you can actually practice outside of playing the match, it's sitting recon on these modes and just understand, you know, like it's very common for someone to be like, if you're on defense and you're holding this ramp, this is like the only real cover that you have. So if I'm a machine that's pushing into this, like, how do I do this? Do I throw a fizzy bomb? How do I throw the fizzy bomb? You know, like, do I want to hit the fizzy bomb behind it? Do I want to hit toward that right side? Do I want to cut off their, you know, cut off their exit path with the paint alone so they're trapped over here? And all this will depend on the very specific scenario that you're in. You know, can I poke at it? Should I poke at it here? You know, how far up the ramp do I need to be to get into this type of spot to help? And it's like, okay, well, if I'm sitting on this ramp and I'm all the way up here and there's a backliner over here, I'm probably dead. So, you know, maybe I can, and maybe you don't even need to jump. Like, maybe if you just know your positioning, you need to practice it so you don't like hit the sledge like this. But like, you can sit in this type of area and still get control without exposing your, or, you know, exposing yourself minimally to potential people that might be dropping in these areas. And this type of just like optimal positioning and knowing what you're trying to fight for in any situation and how you can play that optimally is like super, super important. You know, if you're trying to push this ramp and you don't, you know, there's people around mid, take a couple of shots, move back, you know, give yourself paint, give yourself areas to maneuver. It's like, you know, if we're pushing right side, we can hit over these ledges. That's clear. If they backed up, then we have the range advantage over them. We can check all these spots. Oh, that's clear. Okay, we can start looking to fight for this. I can preemptive paint it. I can throw, you know, a fizzy bomb potentially. I can throw a fizzy bomb up here to zone someone off. Like, there's a lot of different ideas, and how you put these ideas together is what makes you a good Splatoon player. But you know, I'm very long-winded in the point that I'm trying to make, but that's something that I wanted to mention. I'll quickly go over some of the defensive spots on a map like Mako with Machine. When it comes to like checking areas, because Mako has a lot of ledges and a lot of boxes and objects to shoot around, and it's part of the value that you get for using a machine. But you only get the value that you take advantage of. So we played a game today, and like our team was retaking. I think we played clams on this map. But we were retaking over here, and like the enemy team basically had full control of mid, and like we were effectively wiped. I think we either jumped out or were like moving out or whatever. So like enemy team has like most of the control over left side. They have people potentially over right stack. They have people like in mid, potentially looking to push into freezer. And so it's very dangerous. They also had, I think, a machine. I don't remember the full comps and everything, but it's a very difficult situation for us to play, basically. And so like as a machine, when you're coming out of spawn, understanding your ranges and where you can comfortably poke is good information to have. It's like if there's someone ledge camping in this area, like understanding how to comfortably hit that. You know, like fizzy bombs and like them exploding on people that are trying to camp that area, that was probably too far. Ideally, if you have teammates or other friends that want to practice this, again, I don't have friends that want to get in the weeds like this, so I usually don't have. You know, I could be more optimal if there were like test dummies that I could work with, but you know, yeah, I have to use the resources that you have. But anyways, a couple of defensive spots. It's like people are always going to want to sit behind this box. So in certain spots, people were like looking to throw fizzy bombs, and they left themselves prone to getting punished because they're like moving forward and they're like not focusing on the right things. You know, as you're moving forward, you can probably hit over this ledge directly, like in this spot. And obviously you don't want to sit here forever because you can get punished initially, but when you're coming out of spawn, you know, you need to hit those areas and then, you know, get some information. You can poke in these types of areas, and you can check your minimap to help understand like where paint is and stuff. But like have this help you get some information. Maybe use that to potentially back them off, and you can hit behind that block. You can hit behind the ledge, you know, behind it. And that's how you can like slowly move people back. It's like, can we hit behind this pillow? It's like, no, if we want to fight someone that's behind the pillow, even if they're trapped, we have to like actually jump off the ledge. But that's good info to know, you know, like we don't want to just blindly jump off the ledge without having that information. But if there's someone stuck over here, we at least understand, you know, our limitations with our range. You know, if we're sitting up here, does it give us the ability? No, still not. But you know, there's a lot of ledges that you can check as you're moving in, and like knowing this ahead of time. You know, if there's someone sharking, because people always love sharking, like in the spot right here, you know, or they're sharking like right here. And if you're like a machine player, if you move into this position first, even if you do like why did I say that so weird? Even if you use like the camera control tricks, which I've made on my YouTube video, I made the YouTube video on, which we'll shamelessly plug in my YouTube channel here. Feel free to follow that. We're trying to make some videos. Trying to condense some of the videos we do, and maybe some guides like this when it comes to painting on map specific stuff. You know, maybe if there's some interest there and there's some support, maybe we'll look to make those videos. Shameless plug. Also Square Enix, if you're looking for an ambassador for your game, I'll shamelessly shill for your product. Anyways, so like, yeah, like if there's a short range shooter sitting in this type of spot that's like waiting for you to push in, or if they're sitting here and they're waiting for you to push in, like if you start moving up to here, they just jump out and you're splatted. But you know, if you know like the max range, and obviously you don't want to just sit here and shoot because they can still find an opening to punish you. But it's like, what does that look like? Like, you know, hit a couple of shots here, see if you hear anything. Like, you don't have to fully commit to it, but you know, if you hear a ding over there, then that gives you information. You can potentially trap this person, you can call for a teammate, and y'all can look to like clear that stuff off. But you know, like understanding how you can play around these ledges as safely as possible. And obviously, like if you start shooting over it, they can like back up and then they can move forward again and they're like back in the spot. So you have to like, you know, there's timing windows for everything that you do. And again, as you become better at that, that's something that you can work on. But you know, if there's someone over here, it's like, you know, how do we hit those shots? What do those shots look like? It's important for offense and defense. I think in mid, you can actually shoot over the stack. So like if you're scared of like a stamper or a carbon or something that's in this back alley or whatever, it's like, maybe we don't want to climb this, because like as a splash, I don't think I can hit over it. I might be able to get a little bit of paint at it. Had to actually test it, but that paint doesn't do us a lot of good. But for something like a machine, it's like you can play like pretty defensive and like you can hit spots. And if you're comfortable and you know, and this is like where having a test dummy could be nice, like you could shoot over this little like block that people love to like cling to. Like maybe they're sitting like in this kind of spot. And if you know that you can take a safe position and just like check that area, oh, I checked that area, I can move here now. So I know that I'm not going to get jumped. And it's just like, it's really important to know that type of information. If there's someone sharking on this ledge, a very common ledge, as you're moving on to stack, obviously if there's someone over on the left side, you have to also worry about that first. Yo, what's up, Wingers? Are you gonna play Foam Stars when it releases? I don't have a PS5, so I will not be playing it. But I am half joking when it comes to the ambassador thing. Maybe I'll shoot my shot with Square Enix. Hook me up, hook me up. I'll shill for your game. #1 Foam Stars coach. You heard it here first. But just like understand where you need to be, because if you play from back here, if you play up here, like carbon can kind of destroy you if they're sharking on these ledges, or like a tri-slash, for example, love to sit on these ledges. But you can get that information as you move forward. So like as you're moving forward, instead of being here and like trying to throw fizzy bombs to, you know, hit people that you see in zone or hit people on the stack, make sure that you like protect yourself first. Make sure you know you can hit over these areas, hit this area, and like you can continue to move forward with all of this. Secret Square Enix. Only you know, sons, that you're a Square Enix dev in this case. All this is really important. If there's someone hiding behind mid, check that before you start looking to like, you know, take fights potentially. Can we hit over the sledge from here? Yeah, we can do it from over here. That's sick. Can we hit on top of this area? It's like, yeah, we can get some paint potentially without fully jumping over there, which, you know, paint may not be the most valuable thing, but it's good to understand like where you need to be, you know. The last person, like whenever you get 3 down and like the enemy team is like backing up, or like 2 down or something, it's like the last person has to push back through here. And in certain cases, like some people might try to be slick and they'll like sit here and they'll go for a cute play, or like, oh, this person's trying to take the stack, so I'm gonna try slash and I can actually stay in this kind of area and like punish them for it. But you know, if you're a machine, you can check all these ledges before you actually start committing and everything. You know, check these ledges before you commit. Check over here before you start dropping. Or if you have a teammate that's pushing it, check all these areas. Use your range to your advantage. You know, you don't want to sit here and just like take shots and camp all day. But, you know, as you're moving, just understand like what's important for you to like keep an eye on. Is there someone behind here? If we're trying to camp this area, first we want to check this, and there's probably better places for us to be able to check it. So like, you know, check the spots, check over these walls and these ledges over here. And, you know, if it's safe and depending on weapons and all these other variables, like, I don't know. I'm stretching the point. I think y'all understand at this point, but every weapon can do this. And if you want to actually improve, this is how you do it. This is how you go about doing it. So, yeah. Take as strong of positions, like the strong positions you want to take when it comes to, you know, punishing the enemy team. Also take those strong positions when you're painting, take those strong positions when you're approaching the enemy team. It's careful I say the lines of the VR. So all this stuff's super important, and every map has its own challenges. It has its own like geometry that you need to play around. But if you want to get value out of like machine, for example, if you're a machine player, just make sure you're not putting yourself into risky situations. Another map that our team struggles with quite a bit is Inkblot. We're actually okay on zones. I think we're a really good zones team, but every other mode it's a little dangerous. But there's a lot of ledges that you need to play around on this map as well. Understanding types of ledges that people may want to camp on. If you're trying to push bats, you know, as you're moving forward, you might need to hit those ledges. So like as you're moving forward, like get that paint down and do all of that. One thing that I think a lot of machine players, because I definitely made this mistake and I probably still would, but we use Fizzy Bomb so liberally. We just use Fizzy Bomb out of base because it feels good. But we have like 4 or 5 shots after the Fizzy Bomb before we run out of ink. And like, you know, in certain cases, this kind of Fizzy Bomb, if they're pushing cut and we know they're pushing cut, like that can actually be a really good zoning tool. But just using it because it allows us to get far paint and maybe a little bit of chip is not as valuable as the ink that you can use for your main weapon in this case. And if you have to cover these areas and like as you move forward, maybe you need to cover these ledges because they might be camping under the basket or they might be camping over like by the sponge and stuff. And it's like, you don't have to drop to like start getting some information and getting some paint in those areas. Because if they want to retake those spots after you've painted it, they have to paint it themselves, which gives the rest of your team information. And it's just important to like check all of this stuff and understanding your range. It's like, if someone's sitting on this ledge, like I didn't even know this till now, but like you can hit, because this is a Q play I love doing. If you ever see me on clams, just check this area. You'll get a free kill most times. I love sitting on the spot. It's so cute, and I think it can be strong because it gives you options. You can drop out of mid, you can climb over the top. But like if you're scared that someone might be sitting in one of those spots, which like obviously that isn't like the only important spot, but this is just like a random thing that I learned because I was in here for, you know, 2 minutes. It's like, oh, I can actually like hit over the sledge if I like time it properly. So, you know, because if you immediately jump to the clam, like that leaves you exposed when you're jumping over, and someone that's sitting on that kind of ledge is going to look to punish you. And if you're on the clam, it's like, okay, I can, you know, hit over these ledges without fully committing. Or, you know, as I'm trying to like take this spot, because this spot is a very, yo, what's up, Salias Boo? Please, let me know how you would like your name pronounced. Can I send a replay? Yeah, so I would recommend, ideally, if you can join the Discord, there is a VOD submission channel that I use to keep track of everything. But for whatever reason, if you don't use that, you can also submit them through the Google form. It makes my life a lot easier if we do it through the Discord, but you know, I want to give people options. I understand how annoying it is to have to join a million Discords. So if you're not interested, then definitely feel free to use that. But you know, understand all the ledges that you need to potentially hit. If you're hitting over this type of ledge, for example, it's like, yeah, we can technically do it over here, but there's probably safer ways. Or if we are doing it, maybe, you know, what's the max range? Maybe you don't have to sit all the way up here to check over these ledges. Maybe it's better for us to like check back here or whatever that max range is, or at least get paint before we move. Or maybe we hit a couple of shots over that ledge and then we start moving. You know, maybe we can move into mid and keep checking ledges. Or maybe we swing out right this way and we can check ledges. If we're planning it's a mid-range weapon, then we don't want to be sitting in this kind of scenario because they can drop out and then we're dead. I'm sure anyone that's played Machine has had that happen to them before. But you know, really understanding like how to poke, you know. Depending on the weapon, it might be better for us to check this way versus being up here or being back here and just get that information. Can we check behind this area still sitting on our plat? It's like, yep, we were able to do that. It's nice. If we're poking, you know, think about the enemy team where they're commonly going to want to move from. It's like they might flank from over here. They might flank from this area and swing from over here. Obviously, they might swing from over here. And so like as you're moving out, just make sure you're prioritizing like the important areas and don't like fully commit to, you know, oh, I need to like push the box. And so I'm going to sit here and like try to get some information. Like you can get information a lot safer by just like poking a little bit. And, you know, if you can retreat, if you have to, you can move over here, get some poke and then move back over here. Like the fluidity is something that I understand the idea, but in terms of practice, I need to work on a lot myself. So this is something I'm actively learning. And if you want to get better on like, oh, like, you know, how should this exactly look like? What should we be prioritizing? You know, like what feels safe and comfortable? That's where you'd watch like really good Machine players get you that information. But, you know, if we're trying to push this wall, for example, we don't need to like, if we know someone's on the other side or if they're playing around their slick, like this little ramp over here, you know, maybe we don't want to like climb the wall and like try to take a fight like this. Like sometimes this might work out and it's totally fine, but a lot of times you'll see people just like hit shots over the sledge. If they're camping and they're trying to like swing on you or look for like a funny play, you know, just naturally check these areas. This is an area on TC. This area right here has caused so many people grief and causes our team so much grief. This area right here. People love sitting here on TC when you're going for first check. And if you play Machine, a couple of shots, maybe hit over this thing. You know, potentially, like if you can hit over the slick from this area. So like this is another interesting angle and knowing like what you can actually hit from this kind of angle. You can potentially hit people that are on snipe in this kind of spot. And then you can move. But, you know, really getting comfortable of like, you know, get paint on this ledge so they can't drop on you. And just understand like what you're trying to hit. How far do we have to commit to hit over these areas? Or hit like behind areas that people like to shark? And you don't want to overcommit. You don't want to find yourself just constantly shooting unless there's like, that's like the only threat. Then you can like bully a specific area, but just like hit a couple shots, get some paint. You know, you can move back if you need to or if you feel uncomfortable. But try to play a little, like try to play carefully. Try to figure out all the different areas that you're able to really kind of keep an eye on initially. Like focus on the things that you can hit first. And then as you continue to move forward, you can start focusing on the things that, you know, you're more likely to want to check. But as you play against good players, like if you don't get into the habit of just clearing out those ledges and clearing out spots where they could potentially shark and punish you, they're going to shark and punish you, you know? Like you don't want to get stuck in a scenario that like you're just sad. We don't want to be sad. And the more comfortable you are on all the maps and you understand the geometry, you understand where people want to sit, you know, whether you're pushing Rainmaker to first checkpoint or you're fighting for mid or, you know, you're pushing Rainmaker to try to get a KO, is like all of those require different positioning from you, require a different understanding of where people want to sit from the enemy team perspective. And all of that knowledge, like all that goes back to like map knowledge. And you don't have to be good. You don't have to be able to aim well to preemptively like go in and take space as a machine and just automatically check those spots. Like those spots are stationary. You're not trying to hit a specific person. I mean, if there's someone there, you know, like there's common shark spots, but like you're just hitting like over a ledge. Like these are stationary objects that are the equivalent of like shooting at a training dummy. And in a lot of cases, you're aiming at areas, especially if you're pre-firing or you're getting that defensive painting when you're able to start moving more aggressively. Like, those are stationary targets you're hitting at. And when people say like, oh, like, you know, people get too focused on like what aim means. Like, aim represents a lot of different things. Aim isn't just, oh, I'm, you know, oh, this person is moving. How well can I track them? This is part of it. And, you know, leading shots on specific weapons if you need to. Like, all of this is part of the puzzle. But the more important part is your positioning, the amount of paint that you had before taking the fight, you know, checking areas beforehand and making sure that you don't get caught off guard. Because if you play against people that don't punish and they don't preemptively paint for those areas, then you get like a massive advantage over them. And you're like super chilling. So, yeah, that was a long and drawn out response, but if other people want to replicate that kind of practice, I wouldn't really consider it like a drill necessarily. I don't think you need to necessarily repeat this like every day, but I would, you know, if you're actually taking the game seriously, especially if you're like a competitive player, I would choose like a map to focus on. And part of it is like you're playing scrims, you're playing solo queue, you're playing open with your teammates, you're in a tournament, like you're going to practice museum or you're going to practice inkblot during those scrims, but there's a lot of work you do before you go into those scrims. And this is the work that you can do before those scrims. And any work that you can do when you have infinite time to practice, like that's where there's really big advantages to be had against the people that you're playing against. If you're confident on how you're playing machine, and you know like the proper ranges to check and paint for certain spots where people like to shark, and for you to get clean paint over ledges and everything, and check those areas for our teammates to move forward, all of those skills are infinitely more important than having amazing reaction times and having the ability to like swing and do a 180 and hit someone that's chasing you from behind. Like that isn't what makes you a top player. Like when you're already a top player, having those skills, the mechanical skills, is important, but it rarely makes the difference. When it does, it's super hype. But if you're actually trying to improve at the game, you don't focus on like, no, aim drills are important. Doing drills and getting comfortable and warmed up before you go into a session of Splatoon is important. I'm not denying it. But having good aim for a day is like the cherry on top, effectively, of like you being competitive. If you have a good game plan, if you understand spaces properly, if you know what you need to be checking, if you know how to check them safely and effectively, and you can do it very quickly and move on to like whatever it is you need to do next. If you're very fast and everything, like all of that stuff will win you games and give you an advantage infinitely more than being able to aim well. Because if you're in an easy fight, then aiming well doesn't matter, you know? Like if you take a fight that you have an 80% chance of winning or 70% chance of winning, like I would take those odds with my poor aim than, you know, having Kyo level aim as a machine player and like, you know, just moving forward and just being very, you know, again, like that clumsy movement, not really respecting the ranges of what the enemy team's trying to do. Just, you know, going for those like max jumps where you're stuck in the air for long periods of time. If you need to drop off of a ledge, are you going for a high jump where you're in the air for longer, or do you just like, you know, are you dropping? Again, these things are also pretty minor, but yeah, any information you can gather beforehand is going to pay off way more than having the perfect aim. And people get like focused on not important things. Your aim isn't important unless you're like, you know, unless you're playing against top players and you're a top player yourself. These things don't matter. Like if Kyo was rusty and is playing in like a tournament in Japan, it's like, yes, Kyo's aim is going to make a difference because everyone's doing everything else right in most cases. So like those little things do matter. But if we're competing in low ink, if we're competing in weekly tournaments, these things rarely make a difference, or they make a difference because you're lacking in other departments. And you want to focus on the things that you can, like, you don't want to focus on. A lot of times you'll come out of a session, the birdie ate the dog, you don't know. But thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. I don't know if that's a reference that I'm missing, but oh, the birdie. I said ate. Oops. Birdie and the doggy. Oh, that's a way more cute and wholesome. My bad. I was thinking of too many cartoons where like the bird would always get chased by other animals and try to get eaten. Oh, my bad. Anyways, thank you for the follow. I'm sorry. But yeah, like if you're trying to compete at the level that I'm at, or if you're, you know, a little bit lower than that or a little bit higher than that, all of those things, like those are the things that matter. Your aim, if someone's running at you and you're either you hit them or not, that should be inconsequential. The overall awareness and everything else that we mentioned is like those are the keys to actually being a consistent player. Because yes, if you have godlike aim for a day and you're just aimbotting, yeah, you'll have your upset. It's like it's the difference. And I don't know how many like competitive people like around my kind of level are, where it's like, you know, we're able to get like results against, because like the golden dream for like a lower to mid-level player, which is where I'm at, is like, oh, we want to make it into +3, we want to make it into the plus server that like legitimizes us and everything. And when people look for results and stuff, it's like people try to farm results and they want to have like a win against a really good team, and you can farm results by having aimbot for a tournament. But if you actually want to consistently place high and not gimmick your way because you had ridiculous mechanics for that given day and for that given set and for those 10 minutes, like you just played better. If you want to consistently do that tournament after tournament, these are the things that you need to be focusing on instead. So anyways, let me get back to the VOD submission form. I think that was all the VODs. I think we're caught up on the Discord. Oh, Sons are posted something. Alright, I think we probably will get to that tomorrow. There was one response that we had. Wait, can I see individual responses? I didn't think about this. Oh, individual. Okay, we figured it out. We found the heading. But there was something that someone had submitted like a couple days ago, so I'm gonna actually do that one. After that, I probably might actually call it, unless this rotation is nice. But hopefully people are able to find value. I'm sorry I went like on a huge tangent and went over something more general instead of just going for reviews, but I hope that is able to assist with general understanding, because I'm not, you know, no one to type we might have a problem. Yeah, I think I typed that in. This might either be an old code or there might have been an issue. Apologies for that. All right, so we can do Sun's review. Because yeah, I want to do one more, but yeah, like if anyone's getting like coaching, whether you're paying for coaching from someone that's more knowledgeable and can express these ideas better than I can, or you're listening to me and we're, you know, we're trying to pick up things from the long tangents and rants that I get to. Like I want to try to give you all things that you can go and practice, you know. I don't want to. Do you record your VOD reviews? Yeah, so my YouTube channel, I condense all the VOD reviews, and I am not always the most punctual, but I record all of my streams and I'm putting all my streams. I have a VOD channel. So like I just dump every time I stream, I just dump it onto a YouTube channel so we can just archive it. Partially because I, in like 3 years or something, it might be fun to go back and like kind of look at some of this stuff. As one thing as you get older, memories, pictures, recordings of stuff, like, don't miss out on life by always focusing on recording and stuff, but make sure you have a history of things. I grew up as a person that hated pictures. And I'm not like super bummed out or anything, but it would be nice to have some pictures and memories around things that, as you get older, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years just kind of pass by. And I'm sure as I get older, it just keeps happening and happening. So, you might remember everything when you're younger, but as you get older, a lot of stuff kind of slips through and you only have like small pieces of it. So anyways, I think streaming is something that, when I first started playing Splatoon on like, or Splatoon 2 when I was streaming that initially, like trying to learn the game, I feel like it would be kind of funny to like go back and just kind of look back at everything and hopefully see how far I've come. So I didn't do that before, so now I'm doing it now. So anyways, the process that I have on the YouTube channel, like some of the stuff I went over with like the painting and stuff that I did in recon mode, I want to make more of those types of things also on the YouTube channel, but I'm also just trying to get more consistent on outputting stuff, and time is always an issue. And my editing skills are always an issue. So right now, I'm all the backlog of all the reviews that we've done, I'm cutting those down. I'm trying to get them under 20 minutes. I think under 20 minutes is probably like ideal. But between 20 to 25, but I think I'm going to start trying to go between 15 and 20. And then I'm going to have the VODs uploaded on the separate channel. And then I want to, which I'm not disorganized yet, but I'll get there. I want to, in the link of every condensed review that I do, I want to have a link timestamped to the VOD channel to where if you want to see the full long form review, you can click that. Or, you can watch it live here and you can actually participate here. But I think I need to condense, because I don't want to lose too much value with the condensed videos on YouTube, but I also can't expect people, like the first one I submitted was like in its full form, it was like an hour and a half. And it's like, even like 30 minutes or 45 minutes, I can't demand that much time from someone for these types of things. Or if you are a person that's more interested in that, then here's the full long form thing. Or, here's the live channel, or, here's an area to submit your own replays and I can kind of go through it. So that's the idea. We're trying to get more punctual with all that stuff, but it's hard learning a lot of the stuff and like trying to implement these ideas and then living life is tough. I have a lot of respect for content creators, especially ones that can do this stuff very regularly and very consistently. Give me a call sometime. I can give you some good insight. I'll definitely take you up on that offer. Thank you. We're managing, but as I want to do more things, I'm still struggling a little bit. So yeah, some additional perspective could definitely help. Life keeps happening. So true, Fizzybo. I'll say this ahead of time. It's like an average game. Try to pick one that wasn't. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's tough. Like I always, part of this is like people have to be vulnerable, and you have to put a submission out that you're gonna make mistakes, and me trying to pick at it or criticize or and I'm trying to do a better job of just like also highlighting like all the good and everything. But yeah, I would much rather have content that we can actually pick apart than oh, I want to look good and I want to show off, and oh man, look at this game, oh, I had like a quad, like this clip in this play and I want to make sure other people can see it. Is like, yeah, I can't really. Sometimes I'll miss that with an overhead anyways. Or I'll stop and rewind and we won't see the clip in its full thing. But obviously, if that happens naturally in a clip that you're submitting that you still want to get information out of, then I'll make sure that I do that. I still want to highlight the pop-offs because that's fun as well. But if I see you making a clip where you're just like, oh, I'm a charger and I'm hitting all my shots, so enjoy this. Like that's not the point of these. So yeah, I do appreciate that. Let me update this thing. I need to get a proper layout, so This is better than nothing, is what I say. I don't know if he gave me more information. Oh, he filled it out. Beautiful. All right. Okay, we love to see it. I always look back and I'm like, I kind of miss what his touch was, right? Yeah. I miss being like a 1900 and 2K ranked grinder. So much potential value and things to learn. It's so much fun. I still have a lot of room to go, but you know. Will replay codes eat up when the new season drops? Yes. So probably like I'm going to have a special long stream. So any codes that get submitted between now and the new season, I will make sure I will do a 20-hour stream if needed. We don't have that level of demand, so that's not going to be needed. But I will make sure we do a long enough stream 2 days before and make sure that any reviews that get posted will get reviewed. It might still take a little bit. But, you know, I've probably only been able to, and I'm getting better and faster at the editing process, but I've only had condensed edited reviews of like probably half of what we've done so far. I think I'm on like the 12th one. I mean, I don't know how many reviews I've done at this point. Maybe like probably 20, 25. But in terms of it actually getting reviewed, anything that you post now, I am making a point that 2 days before anything that's posted in the channel will absolutely, without a doubt, I will find time and review all of them. 1000%. So don't worry about that for now. If you do it the day before, depending on my streaming schedule and life and all that other stuff, we'll figure it out. But anything you submit between now and I think June 1st is like the cutoff day, but I'll make sure I give 2 days and we'll get through everything. So yeah. Why Rainmaker sucks? For real. For real. But yeah, the replay codes will get eaten up. That is a good point. But I'll make sure that anything that gets posted will get reviewed. How often do you do these? So basically every stream I try to mix them in. I'm still getting more consistent with schedule. I might have, depending on life, there might be a little small gap of time where I can go super hard streaming next month, like super hard. With the way that some of the work stuff that I'm doing is like lining up. But anyways, yeah, usually I try to do like 2 or 3 a stream. But some streams I can only do 1. Some of them I'm focused on either team stuff or I'm focusing on, you know, a solo queue rotation. I really like playing spot zones. So it'll deviate. Sometimes I'll do like 4 or 5 reviews on a stream, but usually it's about 2 to 3, I would say. Makes the most sense. But I like doing them often. I find a lot of value, and like the conversation that comes from all of it is what I really appreciate. You know, I'm trying to provide value to you all if possible. And, you know, I just like the dialogue, especially if you get too sheltered into the competitive Splatoon community. It becomes very toxic, and a lot of the conversation is either uninteresting or toxic. There's still a lot of great stuff about the competitive community, but I feel like there's a lot of very competitive specific things that don't get discussed, and it actually makes me sad, like legitimately sad in certain spots, that I don't have an avenue to have these types of conversations. So this is kind of like the this is my selfish avenue to have conversations and discussions about things that I actually want to discuss. I can't talk. Can I send some POVs from the Dutch qualifiers? Yes, please. Also welcome in, Mizu. Yes. If it's team stuff, if it's whatever, I would love to see it. Right now we're doing review codes, but if people have, like, especially for like teams, if y'all have like communication and stuff that y'all, you know, I want to make sure everyone on the team is comfortable like having those VODs or whatever like shared, you know, so like make sure you get stuff figured out from your team. But over time, I would like to, I still want to do like the replay codes because I think it's the most accessible. So yeah, any replay codes that people are comfortable sharing, please send them my way. Please, please, please. The other thing that I'm doing, especially for like high level competitive stuff, which I'm not sure exactly what level you're at. Sorry, I only know EU competitive players are a blur. There's so many like +2 and +1, not +1, but there's like a lot of +2 and +3 EU players that I'm just like not familiar with, unless I play against them during a random major, just because y'all don't always play in our weeklies, and I definitely can't play in the EU weeklies. But if it is an interesting enough game, because these do take quite a bit of time, but in solo queue, so I was talking about Scorchcord Rainmaker. Why did I say solo queue? I'm doing like full overhead and each person's POV from what I consider like high quality sets, which is subjective. And I'm not rejecting anyone's clips, but like I'm trying to be very selective. Like I'm not going to post my own team stuff and waste my time with all this. But Fantar and a bunch of top level French players playing against Alliance Rogue. Of course, I'm gonna, any of those clips that I get. I think Obido said that they would be comfortable potentially sharing those clips, like really high level stuff. I want to archive some of those things and have it so that people can go in and watch whatever player, and like the little things I talk about when it comes to all the painting, all the things I just talked about. I want to have raw gameplay footage, which replays, you don't get the little reticle. It's not the perfect solution, but it at least gives a stepping stone to, oh, we just talked about this concept. I'm not the best machine player. How do I find that content? This is what that channel that I'm making and those recordings, they're like low effort, but they also take a lot of time to make, because it's like each game is like 50 minutes basically, because you have to like record every POV. And that's why like I want it to be high quality stuff, because selfishly I want to, like, it's hard to find this content. So if I have to put in an hour of work in order to, realistically it's probably like an hour and a half, 2 hours, like getting everything formatted and properly archived and stuff. But if that's what it takes for me to be able to find high level content that I can scavenge, then that's what I'm willing to do. Obviously there's some tournaments like the Ink TV stuff, which I didn't think of doing this before then. They gave out the replay codes and everything, and I wish I would have better archived those. But I can't do it all the time. But anyways, for qualifiers and everything, like, yeah, I would definitely be interested in seeing it all. Followed you with the name Obiru? Oh yeah, that name does sound familiar. Wait, why do I know that name? Yeah, I guess if you followed, but I've definitely played against you either in Splatoon 2 or 3. That's sick. Awesome. And yeah, is that this weekend? Or when are those qualifiers? Whenever it is, good luck. Anyways, Suns submitted clip. Let's go to it. Sorry, appreciate everyone's patience. I go on tangents a lot. But again, this type of conversation just really excites me. So I just like, I don't know. Y'all give me energy. And so sometimes I can get a little bit hyperfixated on stuff and I lose track on things. Oh, qualifiers were last weekend? Oh, I see. Played 3 finals? Oh no. Tangents are educational? Yeah, I try to. I try to, provide value for people that are coming in for stuff. So anyways, Rainmaker on Wahoo World. This map does not make you say Wahoo. I didn't even know that there was water. I'm going to be honest. I've never noticed that there's water around, like, surrounding this map. Actually, I should see it back here, but I didn't know it surrounded the whole thing. Anyways, so we're Tetris. And when we look at our comp, we have a lot of variety. We're very much a mixed bag. We have like pop-off potential, we have big play potential / pop-off potential, we have mid-range options, which is good for an open map like this, and we have a painter. So, maybe not the most optimal comp, but there's enough tools for us to be able to like play the game and then be able to adapt. Like, we're able to adapt quite a bit, but we don't, this isn't necessarily the strongest comp. And we're playing against a comp that, Dapples, basically the same thing, except for we get more range, but we don't get to roll quite as fast. But we can do it more often. Anyways, Wiper, I always forget Wiper versus Tetra, but I'm pretty sure Wiper wins pretty hard. I think Wiper in an open fight, like an open space, like if you're fighting on this kind of ledge against a Stamper or a Wiper, like I think you just get completely obliterated as a Tetra. So I would probably avoid taking those fights unless you are dropping off of a ledge or you catch them in a spot where they're not looking for you. Ballpoint, obviously going to be a big problem. This is huge in the meta. Inkjets on this map are usually pretty good. Usually struggling against Wiper. Yeah, I think you're supposed to lose pretty hard to Wipers and Stampers. Like I think you basically should never win them, like in an honest fight. Obviously, you don't want to take honest fights in a game like Splatoon, but if you do try to, like, you can take an honest fight. So like if you're playing against a Splash, for example, as a Tetra, like you want to take honest fights with Tetra or with Splashes because you just bully them, but you don't want to take an honest fight with Wiper. Obviously, if you don't need to ever take an honest fight, you don't want to, but there's certain times where you can like be very big and have a big presence on the map because you outrange everything. This Ballpoint can play very honest and just be very big and take high ground on this map, and it will outrange everything. If it doesn't have enough paint, then, you know, rollers and Tetras and potentially crabs in certain spots can come in and do stuff, but yeah. And then they also have some Sharky big play potential on their end as well. I would say overall their team has a way better comp than you all. Like a way better comp. But I think you're in an interesting spot as Tetras where you can still get a ton of value. I'm assuming you're just running all, yeah, quick respawn and stealth jump. Makes sense. The other thing that we want to consider is the pop. So which team has an advantage when it goes for getting the pop on Rainmaker? Anytime you play Rainmaker, that's an exercise you want to do for yourself before the match starts. If you believe that your team can get pop based off of kits and based off of builds and everything, then I would say just commit for it. Help build that decision making when you're playing, you know, a Rainmaker rotation. I think in this scenario, the enemy team very clearly gets pop. Wiper pops very quickly. They have Suction Bomb. Dapple's also really, really good at getting pops. We have a line marker. Rollers are tough. Although Big Swig, I think, is pretty good with shredding objectives, but I don't know how good it is against Rainmaker. And like factoring that in, I just haven't seen it enough in the meta, so I'm not really sure. So yeah, we're always giving a pop whenever. So early on as a Tetra, we probably just want to look for like an interesting like flank play. I'd probably look to play around like this left side. Like we can play underneath on left. And either like, because on Rainmaker they have like the rotating walls. It's not like the static wall like it is in zones or TC. But you know, we can play around carousel and we probably want to use that to find interesting angles and like, you know, either drop on people or climb up and roll on people and like catch people off guard. We can flank behind in certain spots, and we do have the ability to play and roll around the mid, but again, because we're playing against stuff like Wiper and Ballpoint, we probably can't do as much open space bullying because they outrange you and multiple weapons outrange you. So you probably don't want to be sitting out in the open in a lot of cases, unless you're very deliberately going for a specific play. But let's say you're playing a team of Splashes and Dapple and stuff. It's like, yeah, you can probably sit out in the open and just generally start rolling and look to bully and take fights because you outrange them. So this is another thing that you have to put into perspective. Tetra like outranges like basically every short range shooter, but it struggles really hard against Splatanas and you know, certain backline like Ballpoint, Heavy, Chargers to a certain degree. They'll often catch you because we have a leader on our team and like they play Charger and stuff, and they're really good at cleaning up if you are out in the open after you use your 4 rolls as a Tetra. I can't handle the Big Swig. Vertical is like a spaghetti noodle. I've been spoiled by Flingza. I'm with you. I'm a Flingza. The only roller I've played is Flingza, and I'm with you. I really want to play Big Swig though. I'm hoping the Rain kit, like I hope Rain's enough for it to like be good. But yeah, they they over buffed that weapon. It doesn't fight super well, but it's like a really good support. That's why I'm like low key kind of excited for it. I don't know if the kit is like that great, but there's potential. Rain spam is low key kind of strong. I don't think it'll be meta worthy. But yeah, we're gonna avoid pop altogether. We don't have to play super fast, but we need to be pretty crafty. Like, I want us to go for like kind of aggressive plays because our team comp is like just bad. There are opportunities. Like if we have advantages, if we are able to take spaces, like Roller can end the game. You can pop off and potentially like have big pushes. So you'll have the ability to still win the game, but your overall win condition, if it's a very honest match, like you get mopped by this yellow team. So we want to keep that in mind when it comes to all of this. Yeah, I wouldn't even waste the bomb on the pop, to be honest, but it's fine. Yeah, I do like the patient play. Nice. I think we might have been able to be like slightly faster, but overall, I love the patience. We find an opportunity and we like go for it. That's sick. That's what we need to be doing. Jump in because we're playing Tetris. Don't go for the pop because we're never getting it. I'm fine with this bully play. I like they're using cover. Nice. Let's go. We outplayed. All right. So one thing that I do want to mention, there's an interesting decision point here. I agree with your decision. But in this spot, oh, we need to go back a little bit farther. So there's an interesting spot here where like Rainmaker pops and the enemy team picks up Rainmaker. It's like we can't go for pop here, but there's a 4v2. So we have two decision points here. We can either look to use this wall to get into mid and stop the Rainmaker, or we can continue chasing the backliner. And I think both decisions are valid and both are necessary in certain spots. I love that you go for the backliner here. A, because they're not set up, you know, they're swimming away, so you can keep running them down. And, you know, if they get up here and start looking to fight you, which ends up happening, you can still use this as cover and look for creative ways. And I love the creativity and the way that you played that. And the Reef Slider value. I'm always a big fan. I love Reef Slider. Unironically, I love that special. And I think it's okay for you to go for this. A, because your team's going to struggle if no one else goes for it. So anytime that you can bully a backliner when your team does not, like, you have a crab sometimes, like barely ever, to deal with the Flingza. I mean, to deal with ballpoint. I got Flingza on the brain. So I love this play because the rest of your team can deal with someone picking up the Rainmaker. So we don't need to like add to this pressure. We already have the redundancy with all of our team pushing in. So this is a really heads up play from you, and you actually are able to execute, which is sick. Yeah, going for this and then moving back this way is just like so good. Like there is a chance that you could potentially like look to move forward and outplay them, but I love the way that you play this. I love the patience. You get information, they're marked, you look for a play, they go back into cover and you use that as an opportunity to Reef Slider. Like this is like, I'm very impressed by your ability to adapt throughout that entire fight. Like that was a very weird situation you got thrown into, and I think for the most part you like played it very, very well. Slash basically nailing it. Oh, I thought you got the pick on the pre-fire. Still really good stuff. That's how this goes. Nice. Unfortunate. So one thing I do want to point out, after you get the initial pick and y'all start pushing it to the first checkpoint, like the pre-fire and the pick you get, all this is perfect. In a spot like this, I want you to be very fast. Like there's a timing window here that I want you to be able to take advantage of. That timing window is that this Rainmaker is gonna pop. Yo, Cupcake, hello. Cupcake, Alina? Hopefully I didn't mispronounce. If so, please correct me. But welcome in, welcome in. We're doing some reviews. Looking at Tetra on a map mode that we're not gonna explicitly talk about because no one likes Rainmaker and no one likes Wahoo World. So there is this timing window here. We get the first checkpoint and then this pop is gonna happen. And this team wins the pop. But we're in a really good position. But this team is gonna win the pop because they technically you probably could help with the pop, but I like that you're trying to be aggressive. Said my name right? All right, awesome. Thank you, thank you. Like you could sit here and help with the pop, but I like that you're taking an aggressive play, but you're taking about the longest approach imaginable. You're like, you took the detour route, and I think you played okay. But if you know that these people, and they could potentially be up here as well, but like if you know these people are coming out of spawn and they're going to be focused on the Rainmaker, this gives us an opportunity to just slip through this area and shorten that window. So as they're going for this, and we know that they're going to be throwing bombs at it, that you know that they're going to be, you know, charging up and they're focused their eyes this way while the pop is happening, we can take advantage of that. And we want to do that as fast as possible. And that's why we want to use this type of route versus double, triple, quadruple the time and going all the way around. Because I think we actually can KO here, especially with your. It seems like you're diffing the enemy team. I'm very confident in you being able to outplay the team and being, you know, you can definitely carry this game. And I want you to go for a play that is like a KO. And yes, you are able to get a specific pick in this spot, but I don't think it's the optimal play. I think we want to go for something faster to take advantage of this pop, this shiny thing that is the enemy team's going for. But again, with the decision you made, I think you played it very well. You tried to be fast, but you also were getting information as you were going through. You know, you're taking your time, making sure someone's not watching you, but the better play is understanding that no one's looking for this play. So no matter how you go for it, you're chilling. But you do find an opportunity and like the exact pick and the exact opportunity that gotta do something real fast. Yeah, take your time. I talk slowly. We're here for a while. We're just chilling. But yeah, the overall idea here is great. But the difference between us holding control and us KOing in this spot is us going for this faster route versus the longer route. But I really like the idea. Yeah, if I played Tetra, I would be running into bombs all the time. It's too much of a commitment with the rolls. It's too tough. But that play is super sick. Yeah, and again, like I think this is an area where you can actually like you can still play on this stage. You don't need to follow in frontline for your Rainmaker, because your Rainmaker is able to, like, they can sit back here and just stall with shots. I'd rather you push from a different direction, and you can play around this ledge and potentially jump, you know, roll past this little slick bridge and push the enemy team. And as you can see, like, no one's taking this area and you were already here. So I'd rather you do that versus drop and like go for, like, this is just very slow and very honest. And as a Tetra, I want us to like cheat and have space to focus on our rolls and all of that. So, you know, I think the way that you're, again, with the decision you made, I think you're probably going to play this fine, but I want us to look for opportunities to like cause a distraction. Because when we see our Rainmaker start taking this kind of path, then we don't want to draw attention to where the Rainmaker's at, especially as a frontliner and especially as a Tetra. We can probably roll through here and like start taking space over here, or like roll this way. Or maybe you can flank around them potentially, depending on the spot. They're gonna have a ballpoint situated to probably deal with you, but yeah, you know, it's not bad. I put in the notes I die all the time to the boss. It's all good. The bombs are something that you probably could be like, you should have seen the suction bomb when you were rolling in, but I don't know. It's sometimes it just happens, but if it is a consistent thing, then we can like break it down a little bit. But the other thing might be like understanding the distance of our rolls and using it properly. But I think the fight you had against the ballpoint, like when you fought against ballpoint here, like your positioning and all the things I just talked about, you played that super well. So I think for the most part you're chilling. Seeing bombs is overrated. That's what I say. That's how I cope every time I die to a bomb. Isn't there a tournament in the morning? Yeah. But I'm addicted. I'm addicted to analyzing this game. So we'll sleep later. Alternate between 2 subs of I have no idea what JSJ is. Some sort of super jump. Quick super jump maybe? That's not a Q. I don't know. In bomb defense? I see. Grab the juice box? Wait, what kind of juice box? Also, thank you for the follow. It's like a spelling, you're fine. I feel like becoming an adult is, or maturing is choosing apple juice over orange juice. I used to always drink orange juice, and then I'm definitely a bigger apple juice fan. They're all good though. Becoming old is probably switching over to like cranberry juice or something, which is still fine, but obviously it's not as sweet and delicious. I've been going to sleep at this hour, waking up at 1 p.m. Oof. Yo, what's up? King Jahim. Also, y'all got like second today. Good stuff. Congrats. If y'all have any gameplay footage you want reviewed, I would love to capture that. Also, if you have your sets from grand finals, I could probably get some of those recorded. I've been trying to do like overhead and POVs of everyone, so if that's something that y'all were interested in sharing, definitely feel free to DM me. Off meta roller push, real. Yeah, mango juice is sick. But like, I'd never find mango juice in the wild. Cranberry cherry juice? I don't even think I've ever seen that. That sounds delicious. But yeah, this push is overall really good. But again, I think y'all could have potentially KO'd after the first checkpoint if you played it a little bit faster. But this is about the, based off the decisions made, this is about the push that I would expect. That's tough. Oh no, not the poor ballpoint. No. Dude, this poor ball, you're bullying this ballpoint. I did not expect to see this game go this way. Sheesh. So, one really interesting point here, and this is something that I often struggle with. I love the shark that you're taking here, but what opportunity are you looking for in this kind of situation, Sons? Like, you're in a position where you're very safe, you get all of the information you need. Like, I love this. There's a lot of stuff I really love about this whole play, and we're gonna break it down. But just from your perspective, while I catch up with chat, what is your perspective here? What are you looking to like what opportunity are you willing to jump for? What are you willing to get out of cover for in order to go? Because I probably would have gone for this a little bit different, but I'm interested in your perspective. Because it seems like you were waiting for something and you just weren't able to find it. But yeah. It's tough. Based off the information, I'll tell you what I would do once I catch up real quick. They didn't have much awareness. I mean, you played it pretty well. Like, you kind of forced them, which is another thing I love. A mango. I'm gonna be honest, that's a word that I've never seen before. Mango. Yeah, I love mango juice and like pineapple, mango, all the tropical stuff that they put in like smoothies and stuff. I'm living for. So it sounds delicious. I just don't even, maybe it's in stores and I just haven't really looked for it, but yeah, I inhale it. The MU2 games from Grands, that'd be sick. That'd be super sick. So I can probably find you, but you can just DM me on Discord through that if you want to. But yeah, that'd be awesome. I wasn't able to watch the set, but I know that based off of Twitter, like there's a lot of hype. I need to go back and watch it. Honest Kids Organic Super Fruit. Whoa, I've had that Honest Kids stuff before. It's pretty good, but I don't know if I've ever had the fruit punch. I used to have the Minute Maid fruit punch. That was the good stuff back in the day. It came in like this giant plastic, this giant plastic jug. It was like an all red jug. One of my friends would always have it, and it was like, ooh. I don't like ice in my drinks a lot. I usually just drink like water and most of my stuff. Like I just prefer hot drinks and everything. But yeah. Anyways, I'm getting nostalgic. Sounds delicious though. I hope it's everything that you're looking for. Hope it's as delicious as it sounds. I have mango in my fridge. Yeah, I don't I really love mangoes as a fruit, but I'm always like bad at preparing stuff. But if there's ever like mangoes that are like in season and we can get them from a spot where they're like actually good, I love doing, or like my wife will cut up the mangoes. I'm sure it's just how they're traditionally done, but there'll be like this like checkered pattern almost, and you like flip the mango out, and like the pieces, it's like there's like little bite-sized pieces for you to like have. I don't know. It's witchcraft whenever I see her do it, but yeah, I can't do that myself. It's the same thing with pineapples. I'll pay extra to have someone else cut up the pineapple because I do not want to cut that thing up, but I love eating it, and I love it on pizza. Hot, not so hot take. Before Ballpoint took the rail, I was looking for the Ballpoint pick, since at this point I found that to be the easiest pick. I guess it wouldn't be valuable to get right now. I think it would be valuable to get, but one thing about this position is like, this play is hard. If we commit to it now, like if we start rolling now, we still have to hit like these weird fall offy shots. Like it's definitely doable. And like, you know that they're going to climb up here and then they're going to start moving this way. So if you're going to jump out for this play, I'd probably do it sooner rather than later, because you can predict their path. Because yeah, at a certain point, they're going to walk away. The other thing that I wanted to mention, I had pineapple on pizza hours ago. Actually, hours ago, right before the stream. Pineapples on the pizzas. Keep that to yourself. FAFSA, you couldn't waterboard that information out of me. For real. All right. The other thing I wanted to mention, again, I love this patience. I love that you're not initially going for this type of play. Once the brush comes through and we hear that the ballpoint's like revving up and stuff, at this point, I would probably start looking to go around here and like flank around, because we can probably catch the ballpoint on the wall. And we know that we've seen the rest of them like move around the far side over here. So I think this is a potential interesting opportunity. And like, I don't know what the optimal play is. I think what you went for is fine. Once you saw them, I would use that as an opportunity before they get to the rail, because you know that the path that they're going to use to take it. But this kind of position, I would get a little bit of paint. Like, I wouldn't start rolling now. I would just paint your way, and like, as you're moving, try to get some information on where the ballpoint is, because you hear them revving up. So like, they're not going to be looking for you, but you don't have to start rolling until you know you need to roll. Like, you can paint here, you can walk across this and like find that good opportunity. But I would like this as the opportunity to like take this fight, where you can roll this way, you can roll back into cover if you have to. Thank you for the hydrate. But yeah, I think that's an interesting timing window. But I think what you went for as well is good. That just requires you to hit shots, but it's a very predictable path that you have to shoot. So Yeah, I think both are fine. I'm not a Tetra player, so I can't tell you what is the optimal play, but I just want to make sure that you're thinking about the decisions here. But I think the decision you made was fine. You just waited until they got onto the rail versus when you first see them jump up here is when I would do that. But I think the play itself is fine. So they move through. You find the pick on the Rainmaker, which again, this is totally fine. This totally stops your momentum if you're able to get it. Unfortunately, unable to do so. But you stay safe from the ballpoint, and then like you go back to bullying the ballpoint. I really love you just bullying the ballpoint, and you're giving trust that your teammates can deal with the Rainmaker. But if you keep ballpoint out of the equation, I think that it's a totally fair trade for your teammates to be in a 3v3. Obviously, if they get wiped and whatever, then you feel bad. But I think on average, this is like great from you. When I started taking rail, I tried to go for the Rainmaker instead. I wasn't expecting the weird search cancel. Yeah, no, you're fine. It was unfortunate, but the idea there was great. But like I was talking before in Soda's review, when it was T-Tech versus T-Tech, when they were playing, it was TC on Umami, and Soda was sitting on their dome with height advantage, playing against the other T-Tech, and like they just, both people know where they're at, and there's just this stalemate. And I was saying before that for Soda, I think they were in a dominant position that they can play more control. And if there's a situation where, you know, y'all are effectively both dead for this push because y'all have no influence on the game. And I think this is totally valid for you to have this trade because you're comfortable being here. You can trust that your teammates should be able to hold. Obviously, if they start wiping and stuff, there's a little bit of a buffer with this, but I love your patience here. This is the value that you get from being in this type of spot. Because this person wants to go for this pick, but they also need to help this push. Because the ballpoint outranges everything on your team and gets a ton of value, and it provides a ton of paint, which your team probably needs, or the enemy team probably needs, because I think they picked, don't they have like a junior or something that picked up Rainmaker? Yeah, I don't know. Wait. Oh, it's an Octobrush. Yeah, that's reasonable. But they need to paint for their team, basically. So, like, you're putting the ballpoint in, like, the pressure cooker in the spot. You've made the decision, hey, I can sit here all day. I'm fine sitting here for the next 2 minutes and 44 seconds. And if you want to play the game, you have to get past me. And I'm not trying to, like, give you an opportunity to take a fight from up here. You have to fully reposition in a spot in order to play the game. And this is like, I don't know if this is exactly what you're trying to do, like, but this decision making is so good. And this is like the perfect demonstration of this type of patience. You're waiting. This person panics and they're like, oh, I need to go help, which they probably should. I don't know what they should do in the spot. This is really uncomfortable for them. I'm uncomfortable trying to make a decision for them. You could potentially jump to your teammates, but like, I don't know what you do in this spot. I don't know. That's actually interesting. It's really tough. They might be able to throw fizzy bombs. I don't think they just drop. Like the way they played it was obviously like very poor, but you know, this is so uncomfortable. I can't, if I was in the ballpoint spot and I was reviewing the ballpoint, I don't know what I'd tell them. I'd probably use fizzy bomb and look for fall off shots, but that's like a highly advanced, you know, it requires a lot of precision. It's like, you know that they're here. I don't know. I'd probably throw a fizzy bomb and like maybe swing this way, but you still have to deal with this. I don't know. This is really annoying. It's tough. But when I'm uncomfortable trying to make a decision for this ballpoint, like, you know that you're in a really good spot. So I love it. Obviously, you know, they can't be doing this. That's a little bold. That's a little bold from them. But there's no great play in that spot because you had such patience. And you have to like be willing to like put your money where your mouth is. And if you think it's a good spot for you, just don't move. Just hold that position, stay safe until they either jump out or they jump to a teammate or they do what they did there. And again, like, this goes back to like, people always focus on like aim. Oh, aim's so important. Oh, I missed my shots. Oh, I lost this game because I missed my shots. Like, it doesn't matter about missing shots because this person is like panicked and we outsmarted them. And we put them in a spot where they were very uncomfortable and they cracked. And we could have missed, you know, like 20 shots and we still would have got that pick on the ball point. And those are the types of decisions that you want to make. So again, this is like a beautiful visual representation of that concept that we just brought up in the last replay. So thank you. I'm glad we got to it immediately after. Sun's patience, immaculate. Yeah, for sure. Super, super sick. Waiting for them to make the mistake. I don't like my choice of going for the pop here. I probably should have pushed forward. Yeah, probably. Just because the pop doesn't really give you any value. I don't know. Just let your teammates do it. Yeah, especially don't sit like this. Yeah. Hey, I'm here for this. I like that you back up after. But yeah, what do we do instead of going for pop here? I don't really know how we want to position. I don't think we need to position underneath on carousel. So we get this play. I think we actually like play for mid in this kind of spot. Like, I'd probably just like start getting some paint in mid and like figure out if I want to approach this way or this way. I think we should know that Dapples is the first one coming in, but I think this is a spot where we can kind of chill and just like take some time to gather some information before we make a decision on what we want to do next. But yeah, I think dropping here is a mistake because we give up mid for free. And I think, you know, obviously turning your back and going for pop, I don't need to tell you that that's not a good decision. But I think you would play it through mid from my personal experience. Because now you don't have time to really react. And I think the Reef Slider is pretty creative. And I like that, you know, you take cover after using it. You put yourself at a little bit of a vulnerability, but if you die there, it's like whatever. But yeah, I don't like that you went for pop. I think you play around mid and look for opportunities to go for stuff. I love that you're going for this type of play. Oh no, the jump. No. Oh, that setup was so good. I don't agree with a couple of decisions there, and it was really unfortunate that you couldn't jump over the... This is like why I wouldn't play dualies. Always wanted to 1v1 someone. I am not good at 1v1s. Maybe one day. Maybe we can have some sort of reward thing. Although, what would you win if you get the one? It can't be something too good because I'm gonna lose most 1v1s. We could probably set some up. So I like the angle that you're approaching from. The one thing that I'm a little bit scared of is that you're holding this ledge while the enemy team is still crossing through. And I want to quickly show from their perspective. Yeah, Bab can 1v1 for me. He can be on my behalf. It's like in Game of Thrones where they have like the knights that fight for like the houses and stuff. Bab fights 1v1s for Team Frostbite. Reward reflex gameplay. That sounds like a punishment for everyone though. That doesn't sound like a reward for anyone. Who wins in that spot? So yeah, one thing I want to mention is like as this person's crossing, they didn't really check for it, which I think they probably could. But this Rainmaker probably could see you in this type of scenario. 1v1 in Splatoon 2, it's a wrap. But Splatoon 3, we'll see. Fair. So yeah. These people, like, this flank is really good regardless. But when people are pushing through this way, if you're sitting on this ledge like making noise and like showing yourself holding the wall while these people are crossing, you put yourself at risk of getting spotted out here, which this angle is kind of tough. So I don't hate this play, but I would rather them kind of push across and then you just get the stop on the Rainmaker regardless. But, you know, I love the patience. I love the idea. I probably wouldn't have been on the wall as fast as you were, because if someone was looking for that, and people will look for that as they play. Sorry, there's a pillow that I put my feet on, and I put it in. I was about to make a loud noise because I was about to drop it. But anyways, but yeah, I like the idea. I think mechanically we probably could have played it a little bit different, and then this is obviously just unfortunate. If we rewind time, you get that the next time through. But the idea there is perfect. I'll play Splashing Crab from the Abyss. Bomb Rush from the Abyss. Real. Reflex is funny because if you play, you just die, but you're also able to randomly kill people. Yeah, I would just be spamming missiles though. Are people interested in just AFK paint for 5 minutes? If so, maybe. Yeah, 90%. 90% is generous. As a 100%, I do not have the Hawkeye vibe to me. Okay. Things happened. I think you're sitting in mid after the checkpoint, which I think is fine. But let's see what happens. Yeah, we'll skip past this. We don't need to relive this. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I do kind of like you holding mid here. I don't know if I would like sit top mid. I'd probably try to be a little bit more patient. Like I would have liked to see you like play around these types of ledges and stuff without making a ton of noise and look for potential opportunities to drop. I think the way you played it is fine. Like you're just collecting information here, but I think you may open yourself up to have potential pick opportunities if you are able to play this a little bit stealthier, and you can potentially roll on people. But again, I like that you're using top mid to get information and look to play around stuff, but I think we could play for potential drops. Not that we need to drop. I like that you didn't take a drop, but we didn't open ourselves up for an opportunity to drop because we weren't looking for those plays. Yeah, we gotta be careful about the ball point. Now we need to play it slow. I'm gonna say at the range at which the timing of this reef slider, I do not like. They have plenty of time to move out of the way. The one thing is, the actual one thing that might save this play is the fact that Carousel's moving this way. So they're actually a little bit closer than they may appear because they're being forced toward you. This is a really interesting trick. I don't know, again, I don't know if you're trying to play around Carousel moving toward you, but that's kind of 5-head. It's actually super big brain, but you're doing it from so far away. These people should be able to retreat. And if they have a ball point still sitting on their plat, like you're almost going to die like always in this spot. And you might throw the game by reef slidering this early. Because if the Rainmaker backs off, like you do stall for time, but I think you can throw an auto bomb and accomplish the same thing because you're stalling for your teammates to get here, which is the right idea. But I think YOLO max distance reef slider potentially, again, against like better lobbies, you're just gonna die here. You probably stall long enough so that at least your junior can start throwing torpedoes and start painting, but there's a good chance that you end up losing lead here because you just rip the reef slider here. So I think the idea is clever, but you need them to move forward a little bit more. I don't think we have a guaranteed setup here. Like if you had patience, if you waited until Like if this person was just like slightly more forward. So instead of being like on this line, if they were like here, which is like is minor, but if they were like here instead, then they can't outrun your Reef Slider. They might be able to go this way, but that's okay. I just think that we're, in most cases, we do stall, but I think there's probably a better way of going over this. Yo, Fruke. Thank you so much for the follow, my friend. Hope you're doing well. If it's Frucane, hopefully, please correct me. But hope you're having a good night, morning. I know at this hour is probably not too many people that are morning and stuff, but or it, you know, not a lot of people are on these super degen hours, but yeah, hope you're doing well. Yeah, I like this idea, but we should get punished here if they were a little bit if they're a little bit better. But I think the timing difference is literally just call you Fruke. Thank you. Appreciate your patience and thank you for correcting. But I think if you like a fraction of a second to let them move a little bit more forward, I think is the difference between me being a lot more confident in the play. But again, really creative idea. I'm a fan. And you understand the overall idea of what you need to be accomplishing. You're stalling for the rest of your team, and if you can get a pick, then that's cool as well. So I'm here for it. Okay. Again, I like the patience that you have here. I don't know how we want to approach them on glass in this kind of scenario. I probably wouldn't roll in like this. This goes back to the patient play with the ballpoint earlier. But I don't want us to be running into them because it makes our life harder. We know that this person's moving this way, so the closer that we get to them, the more that like we have to do our turning, and like it makes the aiming on this way harder for us. And if we take it back just like a fraction of a second, I like us rolling so that we get advantage and like more clean shots, and like, you know, we have the marked actual 5-head line marker. I would rather us just like, I would roll here and just sit here because we know that this person's trying to drop or they're coming into mid. But if we just sit here in turret mode and just pre-fire wherever they're going, like this situation is way easier for us because they're just rolling in a straight line at us, or they're rolling out in the open toward us and they have to do a 180 and hit their shots before you hit your shots, versus like almost a coin toss. You definitely have the information advantage, but this is a lot harder of a situation. And the reason why it's okay to sit here, because if Dapples is just chilling over here, then both you and this Splattershot Pro, like you have a pinch, you know, like they're stuck over here and you'll have a 2v1. So that's kind of the important part over here. And like we can hedge our bets. Like you're playing on the fact that they're trying to get stuck over here, but I'd rather let the play develop a little bit more. We leave ourselves open to these type of options where they can escape. And we could have positioned ourselves to where they can't escape. And we don't want to have this type of spot. But I do like that you're playing patient here and you're playing with your teammate. So that part's good, but I think small, tiny movement decision can make a difference in that spot. We don't want to run at people if we don't need to run at people. We can know like where they're trying to go and play around that better. 10% is finishing on the word people with the tap shots. I don't know if I've played a couple of games of Reflux. I don't know if I've ever actually hit a fully charged shot. I think it literally has been missiles and tap shots. I am the quintessential Reflux. Like I don't play Reflux, but if I did have to play Reflux, I'd be the Reflux player that people complain about. That's funny though. Although Bomb Rush on my tier list is Shadow Realm. I have Inner Agent 3 trauma. Wait, did they use the bomb rush, auto bomb rush there? I don't remember. I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember that fight all that much. I just remember the splashdowns. Like ending it with a splashdown cancel was super sick. I think that threw me off. I don't remember what. I forgot the context of that, my bad. About the 1v1, you can host a poll and see if to see if you 1v1 someone. Yeah, I mean, if people are interested, potentially I could look. You know, I'm definitely someone that I'm more like analytical, and I also want to grind myself, but I do want to have like more PB and viewer stuff. League is an easy way to still for me to be competitive and still be able to play with more of you all, which I would like to do. But I think we can do sprinkling in of some PB stuff, which 1v1s could be a fun idea, and other silliness could also be a fun idea. Phase 3 is auto bomb rush. Rip. Chance of been getting ignored, my bad. One thing you'll learn about me is that sometimes I get like half an hour behind chat and I skip through stuff and I try to hit everything, but I'm not great at doing that. So I apologize. It's never intentional. I just get on tangents. Managed to one-shot a player while dodging the ink stamp. Throwing while on reflux. Holy. I'm the reflux, yeah. The reflux that Nintendo designed the game around. Splashdown, jump spam, and enter 3. It's insane. I was saying that because the spinner was going toward me, I thought they were closer. Oh, then that's really big brain. I'm gonna be honest, I would not be thinking about that when playing on this map. But yeah, I think I would still prefer them to move a little bit more forward, which literally is fractions of a second of holding your reef slider, but the idea is awesome. I love the idea. Yo, what's up, Jamie? I love reflux. Yeah, Jamie's the OG reflux. Jamie's been loving the stringers before all the buffs. Trap twinning with me until the end of time. Dude, I cannot wait for League. I hope they don't mess it up, but I'm so ready. All right. I like the idea. I like the patience. Also, Jamie, what are you doing up at this hour? Hopefully you just woke up and hopefully you haven't been asleep. Host a poll to 1v1. I'm probably gonna sleep soon, so I don't even have time for a 1v1. But maybe when I have some time and I'm not streaming super late, we could definitely consider it. Playing Zelda, honestly, that sounds like the most enjoyable thing you could be doing at, you know, on a Friday night. I'm jealous. So yeah, in this kind of spot, honestly, I don't think that we engage with this ballpoint at all. I think we live to fight another day. We could throw an auto bomb if we want to, just to like be annoying, but I think we just disengage from this completely. Because the one thing we have to consider in these kinds of spots is like, what's the likelihood that we get this pick? And they're fishing for something here, so I think they know you're here. So like the odds, and they're spacing themselves well. I think they've been bullied by you so much, they're like super on edge of your existence. So the fact that we're hitting them at max range outside of our range, there's really no way for us to win this fight unless we like really pop off. But this is like a very desperate low percentage play that, you know, we have a lead, so we're chilling. If we get this pick, we still have our lead. If we lose this and we end up going down, like there's an opportunity for the enemy team to look to take a lead. You should still have time to like get back in and start jumping in and doing stuff, but yeah. It's just like the risk and reward of this, and the risk and reward is very much not in your favor. It's a very high risk play with almost no reward. Like getting a pick on the ballpoint's really good, but they're not in a position, like there's more creative ways that you've demonstrated multiple times in this game that I would rather you take That felt very lazy from your perspective. And the one thing I would say about your play this game has not been lazy at all. It's been super methodical, super well thought out. But I think you might have had a little bit of a lapse there. Nice. In this kind of scenario, I'm probably looking for an opportunity to like, you know, catch the enemy off guard. I don't know if like swimming upstream opposite of the carousel is the fastest way for us to move forward. I'd probably rather us take top mid, I'm gonna be honest, but this still works. Like I like us getting in this kind of spot, but this is like we're struggling to get into that position and we're missing windows because of it. But I think the idea is fine. Because you're trying to play opposite of the Rainmaker, which again, right idea, I think there's probably a faster way through top mid to get to where you want to be. Ooh, that was almost dangerous. Yeah. Nice. Oh. So another thing, this kind of goes back to some of the risk versus reward kind of thing, where I like you poking for the ballpoint here. They're not looking at you and you're able to like pop in, go for a fight. You are walking into their shots, which is a little bit dangerous, but you're like, you have 2 quick rolls ready to go. I probably would have kept rolling this way for the second roll just to make sure you're not running into their shots again. But this is the last for tonight. Yeah, I have to sleep. We'll be doing a lot more of them over the next couple of days. But yeah, there's like the in the zone stuff in the morning, and then there's Squid Junction. So we'll definitely get around to more stuff tomorrow, but I also have to like get groceries and like clean and stuff tomorrow. But we'll definitely get around to it. So yeah, the point I wanted to make here is that in this kind of scenario, we don't need to stop. Like we don't have to focus on objective here. Like we have lead. Rainmaker is on their side of the map and there's only 20 seconds left. I like that we got the pick on the ballpoint and played off of played an off angle from where the Rainmaker is. But we don't need to like loop around in this kind of section. It puts us in a spot where we're behind someone, like people are spawning in and there's people that are over here. And you know, we don't care if the Rainmaker goes down or not. We just want to be in control. Like going for this fight isn't bad. And if y'all needed a push, like, you know, you kind of have to force it. But the sharking that you were doing down here before in like an earlier play and like watching these people come off a spawn, I like this idea way more than us like trying to force something here. Because there's just like the reward of maybe getting a few more points is not worth. And like we're quick respawn Tetra, so it's like whatever, you know, it's like whatever. But at the same time, I think we can play a little bit more responsible. Which again, we've demonstrated time and time again throughout this game. And yeah, now we just get in a weird spot. It's like, even if we do get any sort of best case scenario in the spot is like, again, irrelevant. I'd much rather us be in a position like we did before. All these people are going to push past the Rainmaker. We can drop behind. Rainmaker's the last person. They're going to move slow and we just eat them up. Same exact play we did earlier in the game. I think we just got a little bit careless, a little bit lazy, which is very easy to do. It's one thing when you're playing higher level stuff, it's very, very, very easy for you to just like, I don't know, like when you have a lead, getting splatted in this game and like going down in numbers is like the worst thing you can do. And it like leads to throws all the time. But there's like this false sense of security that you have where like, you've bullied the enemy backline. Like you've played this game so well that you get later into the game. And I felt this as well, where it's like, oh yeah, we're winning the game. I'm playing super well. You know, I've popped off this game. I'm MVP. we can carry, and then you start feeling like immortal basically, and you're just like, I'm just gonna start taking fights, and you just like your ego like gets in the way. I don't really know exactly what it is, but you feel like the game's over because you've played so well, but you've had a couple of deaths here that the enemy team potentially could take advantage of. So we have to make sure that we're playing solid throughout the entire game, because you've left some gaps in the rest of the game. But again, I love these flanks. You have plenty of time to catch up to the Rainmaker. Oh no, we panicked. Oh my. I would have cried if we lost that game there. Holy. The idea was good. Execution was a little tough, but yeah. Either way, that was a really good game. I don't know what I was expecting out of your gameplay, but I was super, super impressed. I didn't expect you to play that as strongly as you ended up playing it. Jamie, fellow stringer lover, a person of culture, actually. Nearly 5, yeah, it's getting late. Wait, you didn't update your game or whatever? Yeah, I don't know. I think the dupe stuff's kind of cool. I'm really glad it's one of those games where all the tasks are super overwhelming. Stepping away from the game and taking breaks is really easy. Yeah, I don't know. That game is always really fun. If you go away for too long, you probably like kind of forget certain stuff, but there's always this like little a trail of random stuff for you to like get lost in, which is good. No spoilers, yeah. Definitely. I don't know when it's okay to start spoiling stuff, but yeah, I don't know what. Probably, I usually give stuff a month and it's fine, but I don't really care. But I know that just for the sake of everyone else. Enjoying it a lot more than Breath of the Wild. That's awesome. Because I was a little bit scared that they might mess that up. Or not mess it up, but like it wouldn't hit as well as Breath of the Wild. So the fact that you're enjoying it more than Breath of the Wild is like, gives me a lot of confidence. Because I will pick it up, but I don't know exactly when. First Zelda game? Wait, really? This is the first Zelda game you played? That's crazy. Thinking about playing Breath of the Wild, never got to it. Yeah. That game's timeless, but I think I haven't played the second one, but if you play the second one, you probably you're probably fine to skip the first one. If you really enjoy it, I'd probably you'd probably go back to the first one and really enjoy it, but you probably get the essence of Breath of the Wild with the new game. But I haven't played the new game, so I don't know if there's enough difference for you to like want to go back to the older one with less creative, funny stuff. Minish Cap? I don't remember the first Zelda. I played Link to the Past a long time ago, but I never like fully completed or enjoyed a Zelda until the 3DS days when I played Ocarina of Time on the 3DS, like the remake that they did. And that was my first entry. Surprise 24-hour stream. I'm getting too old. I don't think I could ever do a 24-hour stream. Sorry, I'm getting bored. I'm gonna watch a different stream. Take care, take care. Yeah, I have a very specific niche when it comes to content creation. So I'm a lot more focused on the delayed gratification. I still try to make it fun and interesting when I can, but my content is very dry. It is not for everyone, but definitely appreciate your conversation here. Hopefully you have a good night. Playing Squid Junction, but not ITZ. Gotcha. Yeah, the early morning stuff is tough. Stream etiquette, nah, it's good. No worries. 1-2 buckles a team name, so funny. Think I should have created an off angle from the right? Oh shoot, wait, which spot was this? Is the one thing that's bad about not catching up with chat is... Oh, you're saying when... Okay, yeah. But yes, I think you should have. I think this pick is lovely, and I think you just back up here. I think we got ours. I don't care what happens to the Rainmaker if they die or whatever. Like, we're in a good position to, like, we have all the information. We can potentially give jumps if we have to. And, like, you know, realistically, the enemy needs a big push, so they're going to be trying to take space in mid. They're more prioritized in taking space in mid than clearing out all of this map. So they're going to be focused on this left side. And I think, you know, even though you went for this play already, like, because even though you already went for this type of play, there's in a very panic state. After the Rainmaker goes down, they pop it. Like, I think we just look to drop off and get a pick on the Rainmaker at that point. So yes, that I would definitely agree. I like the poke at the ball point, but yeah, I think we just back up and chill. Don't worry about pushing the Rainmaker, getting extra points. Just focus on like the end game. And the enemy team realistically only has one push. So if you have any opportunity to roll onto a Rainmaker and get a pick, then it's GG. Hope it stays even after the meme is deceased. Yeah, this play's good. And again, because the Rainmaker is pretty slow moving, like the route that we take, like obviously going this way and going up this way is a lot faster, but the timing window is still there. It's a little bit dicey if they play a little bit faster, but I think this is totally fine because even if they're dropping off here, you can get 4 rolls and still stop them before they get to lead potentially. But yeah, this is just unfortunate. We've all been there. If you deny that you haven't been there, you're lying. Everyone's been in the spot where we're about to end the game and then our shots are just very shaky. So but yeah, let's go back to overall stuff. Again, there was a lot of gameplay from you that is just like super high level, super impressive. Like the decision making, the patience. I'm actually interested if Suns, if you're here, do you have competitive experience from other games, or is like Splatoon like your first competitive game? Or I don't know how serious you take Splatoon, but there's a lot of discipline and very patient gameplay that it feels like you probably have some sort of experience, whether it be fighting games, card games, another shooter, a MOBA. Like it feels like your decision making, or maybe you just played a lot of Splatoon, feels like your decision making is pretty refined. I'm guessing you're not like a super competitive player. I think you have the skills to totally play comp, but I was very impressed with your decision making. Shoes stay buckled. My friends and I had a little unofficial team called Level Up, but I love seeing the team names. That's sick. I have a collective age of 16.7. I appreciate the math. I think because of the QR, sometimes I get careless. Yes. I think QR, and I don't know if it's coming from ego or just the fact that your team has a lead, but yes, your carelessness is something that we will definitely address a little bit. The team's name is Krill Streak. Oh, I think I've seen that team name before. I don't know if they like compete in like normal tournaments, like competitive tournaments that I would be watching, because I know there's like random leagues and stuff. That's the cool thing about the Splatoon community. There's so many like communities baked in that there's a lot of stuff that you're able to like there can be teams in a lot of different areas, but I'm pretty sure I've seen Krill Streak before. Just got a really good armor set. Let's go. I'll probably come back next season with light tetras. If someone can give me hope on using Zipcaster. Yeah, Zipcaster seems tough. A Dryborn. A dry sandwich. I mean, I don't put any condiments on my sandwiches. We're playing Jane over here. As a mechanical thing, sometimes I dodge roll away from someone and it makes me miss a pick. I think playing Tetris more, I'll get better. Yeah. You just need more time. A water bottle queue? Just a water bottle sitting there until I pick it up? I mean, maybe. You play competitive Overwatch and Apex? I got you. A lot of Splatoon. Only take it seriously with 3. Yeah, I can tell from the way that you're playing this game that you have competitive experience otherwise. I'm very, very, very impressed with your decision making. Like there's silly Splatoon things that you probably can get better at, but like the deeper way that you process and look at the game, like I resonate a lot with reviews that unless people have that competitive experience from other places, I can't really resonate with. Live water bottle reaction. Zipcaster Tetra. It seems fun at least. Can't use Zipcaster to save my life. But yeah. Anyways. Yeah, there's so much just good stuff in this game. So much good stuff. What are we really focusing on here? I don't know. Just because I don't think it's the most important part of it, but I'm trying to remember the game again because we went on so many tangents during all this. But you know, one of the big focuses is stay solid for 5 minutes. The entire game you need to play like you're sweating. Because this Splatoon as an overall game is super swingy. And there was a couple of deaths that you had, even as a QR Tetra, which a lot of times your QR probably wasn't even available because you were just slaying so much. But there was a couple of spots where they very easily could have taken the lead. And so yeah, don't get lazy. Get that laziness out of here. Which again, it was only at the very, very end where you starting to struggle a little bit. I don't know. There's like small things. Like I think some of your pathing was not always optimal, but it's not like a big thing. Solid data miner, zip tetrarol. It's gonna be annoying to deal with, yeah, for sure. Retake is hard anyways. I don't know how to engage sometimes. Yeah, I think that is probably would be an overall bigger thing is like engagement angles, I guess. Like there was a couple of times where you held mid. Like you're holding mid up here and just getting general paint. But you weren't looking for opportunities to like do Tetra things, you know? Like you were playing like a backliner almost, or like just a general painter, which is fine. Like you didn't get into any trouble, but you know, get some paint and then like look for, like as you're getting information, try to position yourself. Yo, take care. Sorry, stream was a little bit boring for you, Bam. Sorry, I'm not enjoyable enough. I put you right to sleep. But have a good night. I'll catch you tomorrow. But yeah, I would have liked to see you just like you get some paint, and then once you're collecting information, try to put yourself into a spot to potentially look to drop on someone or to roll into someone. You know, like there's little tiny positioning things. Like if you're gonna play to someone that's on plat, instead of sharking here, I probably would have sat like here instead. Or maybe just again avoid that fight altogether with the ballpoint and like maybe play around like glass or something. But yeah, just being careful about some of these. I think a lot of the engagement angles that you played really well, especially when it came to stopping Rainmakers, and sometimes maybe some mechanical unfortunate mistakes that didn't allow us to have the cleanest of games. But overall, the decision making is what's most important, and I think for the most part you did that really well. There was one other thing that I wanted to mention. Objective priority, and just like know the role that you play. So for the most part, again, you did this very, very well. You understood that you played very confident off of the Rainmaker, and the level of trust that you divvied up to your teammates to stop the objective was very, very good. But there were certain scenarios, like when your team was pushing this with like 20 seconds left, and then you like wrapped around this way. There was another spot. Oh yeah, there was like the random Rainmaker pop that you were going for when it was going on the little carousel thingy, where like there were just random hiccups where you decided that it's important for me to focus on Rainmaker. But it only happened like a quarter of the time. So I don't know if it's like autopilot type of thing, but this also goes for like this relates back to the first one, but it is just one, but it goes without, or I want to reiterate that like if you're trying to compete, if you're trying to like climb in solo queue or something, you want to make sure that like we're sweating, because at the rank that you're at now, and like you said, like you're around 2000 for your rank, like I think where you're at now, you'll climb for free, but you'll hit a certain point. Like you probably can hit, I don't know what server you're playing on, but especially if you're playing in the NA or the Tentatech region, you probably can hit top 500 pretty easily. But at a certain point, yeah, feel free to use chat. You're good. You're good. I trust you. Yeah, frank codes are totally fine. But yeah, like if we want to compete, if we want to climb, and we're playing a rotation to increase our X power, every moment has to be a sweat opportunity for us. And you know, part of it is like we slowly gave up in certain spots. Not giving up in terms of losing, but giving up in terms of like not trying our best to take advantage of like the positions we're in. But I think the bigger thing from your perspective is that you're autopiloting in certain spots. And I think when it goes back to the objective priority and stuff, when it comes to the engagement angles and staying solid, like you do this really well, but like there just hits this point of autopilot. So autopiloting is honestly probably these are probably the symptoms. These are probably the 4 symptoms of your autopilot. Because everything that I mentioned is stuff that you did well for like almost the entire game, but throughout different points of the game, you just found these moments where you have like these lapses of judgment. But when you play solid, if you play solid for like the entire game with that, and your mechanics are just like slightly more consistent, like you could totally be like a very consistent, like at least mid-level, like competitive player, like no questions at all. Obviously the more you play, the more skills you develop and the more consistency you develop, you could probably, you know, continue to keep climbing and reach higher heights. But, you know, again, you have the brain for playing this game competitively, no doubt in my mind. But it's just not getting too comfortable is the biggest thing. But overall, really good stuff. Just super solid. That was fun to watch in terms of discipline. Super good. Yo, what's up, ISO? I can share my games? Yeah, so ideally you can do it through the Discord, but we also have a Google form if Discord is something that you're uncomfortable with. But I usually prioritize the Discord stuff, and then if there isn't anything in the Discord, then we'll go to the Google form. I'm gonna be done for the night because it's 3 a.m. for me, and probably even later for a lot of you. And I have to get up in the morning to clean and do a tournament and everything. But yeah, we do these reviews very consistently. So at any point, if you have a replay code that you're looking for, feel free to submit it. I know we're getting close to the new season. As I was mentioning before, anything that gets submitted like 2 days before the end of the season, I will make sure the final 2 days I get through every single review that has been posted before those last 2 days. So, you know, anything that you submit will not get lost in the mix. I've made sure that there's time that we get to everything. Oh, let's look at the... Oof. That's... This 12 and 6 stat line is really fascinating. Because I feel like we like popped off because we carried that game, but it's funny that the stats don't necessarily reflect that. We probably would have been like 15 and like 3 or something, just for the few like the Rainmaker kills that we probably could have had that we slipped up a little bit on. Yeah, super good game, super clean game. 3 a.m. for you, yeah, it's getting late, but we'll move you all over to someone that it isn't quite as late for them, which is our favorite Australian streamer. No offense if there's other Australian streamers that are in here, but Amy is a wonderful streamer. They do competitive stuff, salmon run, PBs, ranked, battle, junior. It looks like they're maybe doing a tournament right now. Refreshed on. So I might be playing in a tournament now. They're doing some PBs, so that should be some fun competitive content. Yeah, anyways, really appreciate everyone. Thank you so much for all the conversation, for putting up with my tangents. Hopefully you are able to find some nice content out of all of this. If you have any questions specifically to any of the topics I talked about, feel free to, message me in the Discord, send a DM, talk about it in chat. I'm always open to, any conversations or any topics that you feel uncomfortable about. That will help feed me ideas for videos, like more structured videos. And I think some of the stuff that we went over with like some of the painting that deviated or that came from Soda's review at the beginning, I think that could be like its own video. So if there are those types of content that I can have something more structured and more of a guide for you all and have more practical uses of it on each of the maps, I would love to do that for you all. That's the kind of content that I'm most passionate about when it comes to the game. So either way, drink water, be nice to yourself, say nice things to the people that you love, including yourself, and I'll catch you all soon.